Greetings, the cows, Gus T Renegade and Justice, in to share constructive information on what racism is and how it works. I hope the programs have been constructive. If you do not think they have been constructive, if you're not getting helpful information, please, please, please do not waste your time messing around, hanging out here on the cows. Want to be sharing constructive information. If you don't feel it's accomplishing its goal, then please find something else constructive to do with your time. If it's making your own program or supporting someone else's efforts that you think are productive, we don't want to waste time. So if you don't like what's going down here, or if you don't find it helpful, tune us out. Before we get started, I did want to make one correction about giving out accurate information. The program that I did yesterday, I was talking about a non-white character. I was talking about the film that Denzel Washington did, Out of Time. She annihilates him, Denzel Washington, other non-white character. I said she is in Out of Time, and she's also in Training Day, and I couldn't think of her name. Eva Mendes. How could I forget? Eva Mendes. Too gorgeous. And the correction, she is not in Crash. Not in Crash. That is Jennifer Esposito, if I'm saying her name correctly. She is not in Crash. My fault. Corrected. There we go. And the other film that she's in that I was referencing, Eva Mendes, I'm talking about Out of Time, Training Day, and the film that she did last year with Nicolas Cage, The Bad Lieutenant. It's set in New Orleans during the whole Hurricane Katrina fiasco, and she is playing a prostitute, I believe. But yeah, Eva Mendes, correction, got that cleaned up. Lauren Ashley helped point that out. Thank you. Okie dokie. Getting to today's program. Real excited about today's program. I think a couple listeners, I generally try to give out credit for guests that listeners suggest or request that I have on the program, but I think a couple people mentioned today's guests, and I don't remember who did it first, so I'm not giving credit out, but just the folks who mentioned our guest for today's program, you know who you are. Thank you. Our guest for today's program, she has a blog as well as an extensive collection of videos on YouTube. Both her YouTube page and her blog are linked in the description for the program. If you click on her name, that will take you to her blog site. If you look a little further down in the description, you'll see YouTube channel is a link. All you have to do is click that, and it will take you to her YouTube page. You can check out lots of her videos. She has a lot of them. She has more than 100 videos, so you can check them out and see what she's talking about. But basically, it seems like from what I've seen from reading her blog and watching her videos that she came to ponder on racism because she has a white parent and a non-white parent, and that prompted her to give more thought to what racism is, how it works, and to create her different sites where she shares her views about that. And fortunate enough to have her come share some of her time with us today and chat about racism. Our guest for today's program, Miss Tiffany Jones. Miss Tiffany Jones, is that you on the line there?
That's me.
Yay, outstanding.
You can hear me? Yay.
Thank you for sharing a bit of your afternoon with us.
Well, thank you for the invitation.
For sure. For our listeners who might not have checked out the blog or seen your videos on YouTube, could you give us kind of a brief snapshot of Tiffany Jones so they get a better idea of who you are?
Sure. Tiffany Jones. I'm a biracial woman who has a black mom and a white dad, and I grew up in Michigan, Detroit, and the surrounding suburbs. And I always considered myself a black woman or girl, depending on the time of my life, that happened to have a white father, but didn't really see room for that to, I don't know, I didn't really connect that to my own personal identity. I just, thought that I was black and my dad was white, and that didn't really have much to do with me. So I lived that way for a long time, and one day I was watching the movie Glory for about the 5th or 6th time, and I was just really struck by the fact that if that, what was on that screen was our history, that actually it's kind of a miracle that people like me exist, and that must mean something and be worth looking into. And why hadn't I thought of that before, and why hadn't people been discussing it, and why did I not really know many other people that were like me? And, you know, not to say that this is about separation, because actually that's my point, is that if we work through all of this, I think we will genuinely come to an authentic, like a unity viewpoint, instead of, I think we all see a lot of otherness, because that's what we're sort of taught to look for.
Wow, very interesting. That's something I noticed too. We do that on this program as well. On your blog, you talk about the impact that different films have on your thoughts about racism, and just picking out, different aspects of racism that you see in films. And we do that a lot here too. So maybe we can do a program down the line and pick out film Glory. That's a pretty good one. Is Frederick Douglass depicted in Glory? I thought someone.
Yes,
places.
He is. I kind of think he just rides by and waves to the soldiers or something. I don't. Or maybe he was at the party of Matthew Broderick's parents. Actually, that's what it is. Yes.
Yeah.
Too, I've seen the movie so many times, and I should really know that. But yes, he is depicted in that film.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen Glory. I would have to watch it again before I could make any sort of intelligent commentary on it. I know Frederick Douglass, though, he did marry a white person. I'm pretty informed about that. This program, before we can hop into the blog and the videos and all that good stuff, this program, the C.O.W.S acronym, Context of White Supremacy, I have unfortunately concluded that we are in a global system of racism, and I use the terms racism and white supremacy interchangeably. The definition that I use for both racism and white supremacy is as follows: a global system of people who classify themselves as white and are dedicated to abusing and or subjugating everyone in the known universe whom they classify as not white. Do you believe that such a system exists, and do you think that definition is accurate?
Wow, I believe that such a system exists. Are you saying that every white person is dedicated to subjugating non-white people consciously?
Wow, that is an interesting trend for our listeners.
Because if that's what I heard, then I would have to say no, I don't agree with that.
The definition, I don't really get into whether white people are consciously doing this, and I also don't say that all white people. I'm simply saying that the white people who believe in and practice racism, white supremacy, are dedicated to seeing that system stay in place forever.
Yes, I do believe that. I agree with that.
Oh, okay. I do.
But then I believe there's a subsect of white people who may not notice. I don't know if notice is the right word. Who would not ever think that they are dedicated to perpetuating these ideals, and maybe my thing I'm trying to get at is white people don't want to admit that there is such a system of white privilege and white supremacy, and somehow that really contributes to the maintenance of the system. I don't remember why exactly I was prompted to say that right then, but for some reason I felt it was important, and I said it.
No problem. Wow, okay. Would you say it's accurate? Oh, wait a minute, getting ahead of myself. You are, for folks who haven't seen your video, so they don't know what you look like, You are a non-white person. Is that correct?
Yes, I am visibly, obviously, easily identifiable as a non-white person.
Okay. Bruce, have you I guess I'll ask, would it be accurate to say that you are a victim of racism, white supremacy? And when I say that, I just mean that you have been mistreated because you are not white. Is that accurate?
Oh, yes, sir. Absolutely.
Okay. Wow. Okie dokie. Groovy. I guess to get started, for people who haven't seen the videos, again, it's linked right here in the chat room. Just click YouTube in the description. Click YouTube channel. It'll take you right to her page, Tiffany Jones, a.k.a. Biracial Tiffany. In your videos and things, a lot of them, they start off Biracial Tiffany. Could you?
They did.
They did. It stopped.
They did. It did stop. But I would love to explain how that even started.
Let's hear it.
Okay. That started because when I chose to use the word mulatto, of course, many people were offended or thought that I was ignorant of the origin of that term. And, why would you call yourself that? And I just wanted it to be clear that if someone was to ask me walking down the street or whatever, what are you? And I was going to indulge them with a response, I wouldn't say, oh, I'm a mulatto. Isn't that great? I'm a mulatto, yeah. Hi. I would say I'm biracial. And so I felt like I thought it would be obvious for some reason that I didn't call myself mulatto in daily life, and that the term I would use for myself would be biracial. And that really didn't work. And then it sort of just became, this is the thing I always say when I start, and that's how I get into talking about this. And then I got sick of saying it, and I got sick of people saying they were sick of hearing it, so I just quit saying it because I didn't want to anymore. And it wasn't clearing up the issue. So.
What issue were you trying to clear up with that?
Just the mulatto thing. That I'm not trying to start a movement toward people identifying themselves as mulatto or creating a separate group, but I chose to use Mulatto Diaries because biracial could mean anything. The combination of any two races, and anyone has a right to use that term, but what I was specifically wanting to talk about was black and white biracial, and mulatto is the only word that makes that clear without any further explanation. So that's why I chose to use the word, even though it's not one that comes out of my mouth very often.
Interesting. I guess, yeah, this is an important one. What is your understanding of race? And when I say race, I mean race as a means of classifying. What is your understanding of the concept of race?
My understanding of the concept of race is that it is a social construct. I don't believe it has any biological or scientific validity. A social construct by which white, or I guess I'll say Europeans, were able to use non-white people to amass huge amounts of wealth and to keep it to themselves. Well, it just created a hierarchy, and people who fall in between, everybody wants a higher place on it, the highest place they can get. And I think it's really sad that it seems to be a universal system that people have of defining themselves and others that is based on nothing that really matters in the grand scheme of things, in my opinion. And I think it holds everyone back, even those who seem to have lots of power and wealth and privilege. There's a disadvantage to them as well.
Very interesting. That's almost like that's about 99% my view on the concept of race. I feel the every aspect of race as a means of grouping people is about maintaining the system of white supremacy, dominating individuals, specifically white people, dominating individuals whom they classify as not white, that system of hierarchy that you talk about. And I've noted that there is a lot of confusion around that term, where white people and non-white people will talk about it as though it has some sort of biological validity, and I just don't think that that's accurate. I haven't heard any scientific evidence that would support that that's accurate. I think most of the people that have come on this program who have studied it have come to the same conclusion, that that's not true, that it's what you said, a social construct, a political category, that the most powerful white people, they make decisions about those classifications, who's going to be white, who's going to be not white, so on and so forth. Real important. I try to get that point out as often as possible on the program.
Yeah, spread the word.
For sure. I guess. Well, Are you not using biracial anymore? Are you just not saying it in the video, or?
I'm not. I don't feel the need to say, "Hi guys, biracial Tiffany here." Ever again. But I still consider myself biracial. If someone is, I wish we didn't have, who cares? I wish that there weren't these definitions and these questions. But I don't think the way to go about getting rid of all of that is to just ignore it and for me to say, oh, well, I'm not going to discuss that because I don't believe in race, or something like that. That seems to be skipping the most crucial part of the process of getting to the bottom of this and fixing this terrible situation that's just gone on too long.
I guess when you do reference yourself as being biracial, what do you mean when you say biracial?
Oh, that I have one parent that is considered African American, and I have one parent that is considered white in this system. And when you have, as a nation for hundreds of years, and maybe I should take you, but when the nation for hundreds of years is founded on this fundamental belief that white and black are polar opposites, with one being extremely good and one being bad, and the two things just can't possibly blend, that here I am in the middle of those two things and they're blended. So that's what biracial means to me. And someone who is Japanese and Mexican is biracial as well. And if that means something to them, I have to say that from my experience, I don't see how it could not. I think who we are and where we come from really matters. I wish it didn't seem to come down to race and color. I wish that we had cultivated a different way of talking about cultures and experiences and things that were unique to our families that didn't have to do with slavery, pretty much, and wealth and all of these political things. Have I answered your question at all? Did you just ask me why I would say I was biracial?
Yes, that was the question.
Okay. Well, because, I guess all of that means that it's important to me for some reason. I think there is something to be gained from recognizing a middle ground where these things live harmoniously together. And I'm not saying every biracial person thinks this way, that it's important to them, that they identify as both and not with one or the other, but I do see an opportunity for us to be included in the conversation and to say biracial without fearing that there's a perceived longing to distance oneself from blackness, because in this system of white supremacy and white is right, it kind of seems like that would be a human's natural instinct to want to do. But kind of coming from where I come from, I don't see the need to do that. And I think we have a perspective to offer, and we've been silenced for so many years. And I think once the Civil Rights Act passed, and once, I don't know, things did start getting better for our nation of African Americans, that maybe there was a time for us to say, because we had to all stand together then. I don't see how, I mean, it would be foolish. Me talking like this, 100 years ago or something would seem even crazier. So I think our voice has been left out of the conversation, and I think it can help us, lead us to the middle ground where everything isn't so us versus them, but where we can honestly talk about hurts and guilts and shames and angers, and maybe be on the same page and finally move on without all of the division and the cracks in the foundation. So that's why I want to discuss biracial. And the reason I am ever talking about it in terms of my own personal self is if someone asks me, what are you? I don't ever think, I'm walking down the street and everybody probably thinks I'm black. I wish I had a sign on my back that said I'm biracial. That doesn't matter. But my place in both worlds, and my comfort in both worlds, and my belonging to both matters, and I think it can help the situation.
The situation, I just want to make sure I'm clearly understanding you, is helping the situation. Would that be replacing the system of white supremacy with a system of justice?
Yes.
Okay. I guess I had a couple thoughts
Great.
based on what you shared with us. I guess I'll share from myself. I don't use the term biracial. I call people what they want to be called. Like, I'm very much into whatever people tell me, this is what I am, I just call them that. But I don't use the term biracial because if race is not biological, right? If it's a social construct, a political classification that the most powerful white people determine, I have concluded that. That if that's true, then there isn't such a thing as a biracial person, unless I am mistaken, because white people, they make up these classifications, right? White, black, all the rest of them that they, keep adding on. It seems like there are new classifications being developed on a daily basis. If white people are making up these classifications, which don't make sense in the first place, they're not based in truth. These are just groups that they have just made up out of nothing. I don't see where there's something to be gained by creating more groups that are based on something which is flawed and which is rooted in mistreating people in the first place. Does that make sense?
It absolutely does. But do you mean, I'm not looking for a middle rung in the hierarchy. I'm not looking for a separate group on the census form that separates me. It's not really a political division I'm looking for, or I guess I really don't know how to talk about any of this without using the system that we've been given. To deconstruct this social construct, we have to start with what we have. So perhaps it's easier to just say I'm black and white and not say biracial and just use, which is what the census is asking us to do, to just use the two groups that already exist that I see myself as a part of. But I do think that we have to talk about it, and I can't just talk about this as an African American person. I honestly don't have that ability, except that if we're talking about my experiences with racism and where I have been mistreated, certainly my whiteness, I am speaking from an African American viewpoint, but there's something else that colors that experience when I look at the person who's treating me that way, and before they started treating me that way, I didn't see any difference between us because you might look like my dad or something, So I think it could add another layer of hurt. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to, say, oh, I had 10 layers of hurt and you only had 9, so that means I was hurt worse. I don't want to start comparing. I don't want this to get into, the poor biracial people who got it from both sides. I don't want it to be that same old story. But I don't know how to talk about it in a really constructive way without using the terms that were given. And I can't feel honest about who I am if I only am counting myself as African American. So what would you suggest in that case? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm just saying that you would call me African American because clearly I am non-white, and that is the quote-unquote minority that I belong to, and that I should only classify myself that way if I have to classify. Like, what do you call yourself? If someone is asking you to classify your race, if you were to indulge them in that, would you say I don't use those terms?
It depends on who's asking me. When I'm being most accurate and consciously working to speak as accurately as possible to replace white supremacy with justice, I had a police officer, an enforcement official. He said, what is your, and he was a white person, I asked, white person. He said, what's your racial classification? And I said, the most accurate racial classification for me would be I am a victim of white supremacy. That's what I would like to be. That would be my racial classification as long as the system of white supremacy exists. Next, the second most accurate would be non-white. You said, would I reference you as an African American? And I would not. I don't think I even use that term. My default classification is non-white because I know a lot of individuals who are not white. A significant number, they get upset about being labeled a victim of white supremacy for a lot of reasons. They say that it takes away your agency and it's self-defeating and it doesn't sound good. It doesn't sound empowering. I think the most helpful thing that non-white people have not become dedicated at doing is making an effort to speak accurately and honestly about this system. And I think doing that pays off big time. Victim of white supremacy is accurate. I am being mistreated every day because I'm not white, both when I realize it and even when I don't realize it, I'm being mistreated because I'm not white. And I think that would, in fact, if you asked me how I would reference you, I would say Tiffany Jones, a non-white female who has a white parent. Would that be accurate?
Yeah.
That's how I would reference you. And I think
but to me, that's a lot of other words for biracial, or actually it's a lot of other words maybe closer for mulatto, but since you didn't say African American and white parent.
Say that one more time. I want to make sure I heard you.
Oh, to me, it seems like that is just saying a lot of other words around biracial or African American and white. But I do see how that is, it just makes you think a little differently. It doesn't allow you to stay in the same confines of what you might have already associated or ascribed to these terms and classifications that we have been using for years that clearly have these negative and positive-ish connotations. So I think I like that.
Oh, how about that? How about that? Somebody actually likes something that Gus had to say. How about that?
Oh, is that a rare occurrence?
It is. I have found, because I don't know where you are exactly in the world. I know you in your videos you talk about having gone to college at the University of Michigan. I'm not sure if you're still in Michigan State.
No, I am in New York City.
Ah, the Big Apple. Okay. I am very far away from you. I'm in Washington State, and I tend to be around a lot of non-white people who are not black or African American, and I don't think I would be able to speak about racism, white supremacy in an effective manner if I was using the term black or African American when I was referencing people who are not white, because I end up talking to a lot of non-white people who are not black frequently. So I have found that when I say non-white, now I don't have to change my terms when I go to talk to different people who are not white. I can just keep saying non-white, and it works with everybody. And generally, nobody gets upset about non-white. Everybody that is not a white person, they tend to be okay with just non-white as a blanket term for anybody who's not white in a system of white supremacy. And I think saying Tiffany Jones, a non-white person with a white parent, I also think that's important to make sure that it's clear that, hey, I do have a white parent, and acknowledging that and the huge impact that that has on who you are as a person and your experiences. I do think that's very important. I don't think that's something that should be ignored, or, you know, people should try and pretend that that's not the case or something you should have to hide. I think that's a very important part of who you are. Would you agree?
Oh, yes. Excellent. I'm very happy to hear you say that.
For sure. For sure. If you don't mind sharing.
You know? I mean, not like I'm ending the call. Okay, goodbye. But, you know, that's just hearing you acknowledge that and sort of, you know, validate how I feel about myself, you know. That's cool. And that's really all I would ask for anyone that was to come and, you know, visit my stuff is, you know, to just agree with it or disagree with that as valid, but maybe just respect it as my experience, and these are my opinions today. And yeah, that's it. It's just who I am.
Tiffany Jones, context of white supremacy. If you don't mind, could you share a little bit, like how it was for you growing up with one white parent, one non-white parent, and if you could, I guess, clarify for the folks who haven't checked out your site. You had your dad is white, your mom is non-white, so-called black female. Is that correct?
Correct. That is right. And I was born in 1976, so it wasn't, interracial marriage had not been legal nationwide for 10 years even when I was born. So I think, you know, I hope that with every generation the experience is a little different, but as I look at how close we sort of were to that, and I see, I just sort of feel like there was really no recognition of I guess what I don't want to say for some reason, but I'm going to say, is that, you know, everyone seemed to be under the spell of the one-drop rule when I was growing up, and I don't even remember thinking of the term biracial when I was little. I remember being confused about checking boxes and why could I only check the one. But in terms of there was, like I think I already said, there weren't any other mixed kids that I knew. So it just sort of seemed like you were black or you were white in the area where I grew up. And maybe that, I think Michigan in the Detroit area is pretty segregated since the race riots. And I often wonder how different my experience may have been somewhere else. But I went to predominantly white schools and had mostly white friends, and but always considered myself black. I was pretty much the only person of color in my class, usually, maybe a few of us in the entire school. But I had friends, and I was I don't know, well-adjusted-ish, as well as anyone is, as a kid. I think everyone has a hard time. I guess, I used to say so much about things that were hard, and I think once I got all those things off my chest and felt like I could say being black and white for me, sitting in the middle of this and this and this were hard, I never had felt free to put it in that context or maybe even to think about it that way. But once I said it once, it's like, everybody has a hard time in middle school. Everyone, wishes they were something other than they are for a time in high school. So now sometimes talking about this like that makes me feel a little bit silly. But I did have some, experiences where I didn't feel black enough. And since I considered myself black, if black people were making me feel not black enough, that was very hurtful to me, and I didn't really know how to be black enough. I thought just being black was enough. I didn't know that I should talk different, maybe, or listen to different music. I didn't understand for a while until, all of a sudden you do understand because you're so conditioned to this system of white supremacy. You come to understand what those things mean. But I think it might take us biracial kids a little bit longer to understand it or something because it sort of doesn't gel with who we are. It doesn't seem, it's harder to accept maybe and make sense of. But then I think once we get it, it's like we are very concerned with these rules of blackness and whiteness. And, knowing how to behave with whom and where and what parts of yourself to check at the door and what you might not want to mention. So then it's almost like we become the keepers of these stereotypes and race rules. Depending on, I know not everybody has had this experience. Some people it was not a big deal for. There were lots of mixed kids. It wasn't, an issue. I hear that and I understand that's another way the experience could go, but it wasn't for me. So, and I've talked to other people who seem to have had a similar experience. So that's kind of what it was like. I feel like I kind of became a keeper of the guard of race in some ways, just so that I could be safe and not say the wrong thing and hope to fit in. Hello? Hello?
Yikes. Okay. Sorry about that, gang. I got a massive crash on my computer and everything just went away at the same time. Gus is back. Sorry, gang. I survived it. Tiffany Jones, are you still with us?
I am.
Outstanding. Sorry about that. Don't know what happened. Thank goodness my Mac was speedy enough to recover quickly, so we're all good.
Thank God for that. Good job.
Okay, dokie. Before I got cracked off, I was listening to your response and the issues you were having, I guess, navigating being a non-white person with a white parent and struggling with issues of blackness and whiteness and kind of figuring that out, how to navigate that. And you said that's an observation that you've had, that a lot of or a significant number of non-white people who have a white parent, they face a lot of the same issues. One of the people, and if I got that inaccurate, just let me know if that's not accurate.
Oh, that sounded pretty good, yep. From what I recall.
Okay. One of the folks listening to the program, I wrote this down too, so both of us had the same question. What do you mean when you say blackness, and what do you mean when you say whiteness?
Well, that's a great question because, honestly, I don't know. I think that's what is a really difficult thing for a young biracial person, because in your family, assuming that you're living with all of your family intact, it's just people. You don't really have an ability to classify them that way, because it seems, I don't even know why, but I'm guessing now from sort of being away from that for a while, that looking back in, they're just your parents, and it's hard to understand, why people might look at you funny when you're all together, or why your family is considered somehow different, why, you're kind of a different version of a family than a normal family, which kind of in this context doesn't mean white, where I kind of have come to think that a lot of things that we think are normal, it's just another word for white, which is an indication of white supremacy. But anyway, that families where everybody is sort of the same color, that's a normal family, and your family is like a little off. But you can't really understand that, because when you're a kid, you know that things like that's not, like a universal truth at all. That is ridiculous. So I've come to believe that blackness, there is a culture of black people in the United States. I think what I was just talking about were more of the stereotypes, because I think those are things that people easily spout off or sort of expect out of black or white. We have these, classifications of speaking like this is white and listening to this country music is white, and I don't know, ebonics is black and rap is black, and I don't, I certainly understand that, how those notions came to be. But other than silly little things like that, I don't know how one could say that anything is definitively black or white. I made this video that was very tongue-in-cheek about, this one day I got in touch with my black side. And to me it was very tongue-in-cheek because I don't really believe there is such a thing as a black side. Unless I'm talking about, I guess if you want to say the black side of my family, meaning, my maternal people. But I was kind of kidding. It just sort of happened to be that this day I did some stereotypical black things, but what was important to me seriously out of that day was that I felt a part of a black community, that I laughed with and shared moments with these people that I belong to, and I felt that I felt good, and that, that really is all I can say it comes down to now. When I started this, I was kind of like, how can I'm trying to incorporate whiteness into my identity, but you can't really do that, because I think whiteness only means devoid of color. It's only in contrast to this other thing. I don't think there's a collective, I don't know, it comes back to normal. White culture, I think a lot of people want to just say that's American culture or something. So I think similarly I could say that when I am communing with and feeling a part of, and like I have shared with and been understood by white people, that may be how I could get in touch with my whiteness. And I know that this is way off of the question you asked, but I kind of feel like I don't know blackness and whiteness. aside from stereotypical things that fall into those categories, going back to race is a made-up social construct. People are people, and there are lots of differences in the way that some people do things, but it doesn't always come down to if you're black or if you're white. So I'd like to think that we're on the road to getting rid of those notions, and that maybe it's all of these things together will be considered American culture and American history, and there isn't going to have to be a subsect of African American culture. African American actually is a term that really bothers me, and I find myself using it because I feel like it appeases people or something, but it's like an insult in a way because this country is as much ours, and more so at this point since we have been cut off from our African history. So it's almost like saying African American, it's like we're nationless, historyless, or something. Like it just really doesn't sit well with me.
Very interesting.
But if there's something specific that you feel like I could have answered about blackness and whiteness, please ask, and I will try to address that better.
Okay. I guess I'll share my thought and see what you think. I think both quote-unquote whiteness and quote-unquote blackness are products of the system of white supremacy. And if that system disappeared, then so would so-called whiteness and blackness. I have no idea what blackness is. I've heard people argue over that, and all my life I participated in 12 or 30 of those arguments myself. I don't anymore, but that I will definitely put my hand up and say yes, I'm guilty as charged. But I think the root of all those arguments is because people don't really understand what those terms mean. And I think all of those arguments would stop if people were forced to go to a blackboard and define what blackness means. Then we can get clarity about whether this person has enough blackness or has too much blackness or not enough. We would all get razor sharp clarity if people would just go to the blackboard and write down what is blackness. And most of the people that I have talked to cannot do that. But they'll still argue, but they can't do that. The only thing I can conclude is that blackness is abuse. It is a history of abuse from the system of white supremacy, and that's pretty accurate. If someone gives me a better one, I'll use that one, but that's about the only thing I can conclude at this point. And unfortunately,
yes.
At this
I'm sorry, keep going. I agree.
We have two agreements. Yay!
Yes, because I recently I saw some Tim Wise clip on YouTube, and he was saying that blackness is something to overcome and to transcend and to run away from. It must be left behind. Like, that's kind of the implication. To succeed, you must transcend your blackness. Whereas, well, I guess in juxtaposition to that, whiteness is to be achieved or to be aspired to. Yeah, so I agree, I guess, is all I wanted to say. And when you said that, made me think of that Tim Wise.
I'm snickering.
Oh, that was a laugh.
Yes, that was I'm cackling. I'm cackling because Tim Wise has an extensive history on this program. In fact, Tim Wise was supposed to be here yesterday, and I know you like Tim Wise. I was going to get a sound clip of him saying your name and addressing something specifically for our program, but he had a sick child, so the program...
Oh, my goodness. So close. So close.
He's coming back, though. It got bumped. He's coming back April 4th. Well,
I'll have to tune into that. I'm going to write it on my calendar right now.
Please call. I would love to have you call in for that program because I think the same amount of passion or what it seems like you're a big fan of his. I've seen you talk about him on your blog a couple times, and just the response that you just gave, I am about as far from that as you can possibly get. Tim Wise.
Don't like Tim Wise, you mean?
Number one, he's an admitted
like is a fan of.
He's an admitted racist. That would be number one. And it doesn't. I've never heard you reference him as an admitted racist. So, yeah.
Meaning that he is dedicated to maintaining this system of white supremacy?
He is.
Because I feel like he talks about it like taking the cover off of it.
He does talk about racism, white supremacy a lot, but he does not implicate himself as being a part of this system of abuse. He has admitted to being a racist on this program. In fact, as I said, he's been on this show 3 times here at Blog Talk Radio, 4 times in total. Yesterday was supposed to be his 4th appearance here at Blog Talk Radio, but and he's going to be here once a month until July, so you'll have a lot of opportunities to hear me and Mr. Wise chatting. Yeah, I'll make sure you get
he's an admitted racist in what sense?
The definition that I used and that he signed on and said, yes, admitted racist. And it's on this program. You can listen to it after the show's over.
Okay.
He said, my definition for racist and white supremacist is a white person who directly and or indirectly, consciously and or unconsciously mistreats a person because he or she is not white. That is the exact definition I gave him, and he said yes, he would qualify, and he said every white person would qualify.
Okay.
That was on the program, but I have a lot of issues with Mr. Wise. You'll have to come hang out for a program because that could get kind of long with Mr. Wise.
Okay.
You'll have to come hang out for a show. And check out the archives. Like I said, he's been, in fact, if you look at the description for this program, you'll see one of the programs with Mr. Wise is linked. When he was here in January of this year, that show is linked, and you can hear what he had to say. It was very interesting.
Okay.
But as for whiteness, one thing Mr. Wise and I do agree on, he uses the term whiteness as a synonym for white supremacy. That's what I have concluded. If we're talking about what whiteness means in a system of white supremacy, that's all it can be. White culture, whiteness would have to be racism, white supremacy, mistreating people because they are not white. That would, anywhere you are on the planet, that would be the legacy of white people. And I would be hard-pressed to even... I would have to look at somebody really hard if they even said that that's not true. You're making that up. I don't know where you could go where someone could seriously challenge that. And as I said, that's one thing me and Mr. Wise have total agreement on.
Okay.
Let's see. You said the blackness, you felt that was accurate, that blackness is victimization from white supremacy. How do you feel about whiteness being abuse of people who are not white?
Well, I really think that because we only have these white-black terms, that has to be true. That is clearly what the system was set up to mean. Perhaps ascribing a color to it instead of master-slave seemed to diffuse or, to hide that, cover it up a little bit, but that has to be what it is, unfortunately, which is why we have to get rid of all of this.
Wow. Again, Tiffany Jones, context of white supremacy. Please check her blog. It's linked in the program. Tiffany Jones, mulatto-diaries.wordpress.com. One more time, mulatto-diaries.wordpress.com.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
What about one of your listeners, and who is also one of my viewers, who I know of as Inner Renewal, I hope that's okay that I said that, sent me a video, Malcolm Gladwell on Oprah, talking about the IAP, I believe it is, test. And Malcolm Gladwell, who is black and white too, he took the test and he had a moderate preference toward white people. And there was another viewer who took the test, and most people would classify this viewer as an African-American woman or a black woman. She came out with the same preference. So what about the fact that not only do white people maintain this, but we all take part in it, I believe, unconsciously, for the most part, or subconsciously, take part in maintaining this, that many so-called black people are so affected as to mimic some of the same views or hold some of the same ideals as the, I guess I'm just going to say oppressor, being the white person.
I would agree. And in fact, I would say that every non-white person, a huge aspect of their victimization is that they support and uphold the system of white supremacy. But I think there is a gargantuan difference between the way a non-white person supports the system of white supremacy and the way a white person supports the system of white supremacy. A huge difference. And I would say, if I could use the plantation, we'll take slavery. Each and every slave supports the plantation. The master, all of his family members, they too support the plantation. But it's a huge difference in being a slave and how you support the plantation, and being a white person and how you support the plantation. Big difference.
But in terms of today, I think that there's a scale, and that some white and black people can be very, occupy the same, where you sit on the same, I don't know, I guess now I want to say a ladder because I want to say a rung. I think that you have your extreme white supremacists, and you have shades. Although I think there are some white people that have seen the truth and do not behave in ways that are I think a white person could take that IAP test and show moderate preference toward whites in the same way that Malcolm Gladwell or the African American woman did, and that those people are I don't know. I don't think they're out to maintain white supremacy. I don't think that they would pretend that there is no white privilege, and I don't think that they would be so egotistical, perhaps, to think that they never mistreat someone based on color. But I think that all of those things could be said of an African American person, and today, since I'm not sure that I'm correct actually in saying that there is no plantation, but I think you can't really compare the two.
Which
and
two?
I'm sorry, the two meaning back in 1700 versus today in 2010. there was much more. I think white people back then really, really believed that they were genetically superior, mentally superior, morally superior. I think they clung to a belief. I think the Bible was perverted to support that. And I bet that a majority of white Americans back then fell into that, closer to that extreme white supremacist ideal than we have today. I guess I don't think we can take that analogy of on the plantation, because that is then to say that we've made no progress almost. And as messed up as things are, and as this system of white supremacy still reigns, we're a lot closer to figuring it out, I think. And I think we have a lot of white people who no longer believe in that really ridiculous fundamental way that they are superior. They exist, and I hope I'm not contradicting my agreement of what you said, of your definition of it earlier. But I guess I just wanted to say that I just think it's different than saying that the slaves and the plantation owners were working in support of the plantation. And there is, of course, a huge difference in what that support meant and means and was and where it came from than people today, sort of unwittingly supporting the system. I'm not saying it very well, but I hope something there made sense.
I've heard other folks express that view, that they don't feel it's accurate to compare racism, white supremacy 2010 to racism, white supremacy circa 1800. I have heard that. My understanding of racism, white supremacy, yes, the system has refined itself. Yes, it looks different, but the fundamental aspect of what's happening looks pretty similar. White people are in charge and are mistreating, subjugating non-white people. That hasn't changed very much in my view. That's still existing worldwide. A little more refined at this point, but still in existence, unfortunately. White people are still in charge and are still mistreating non-white people worldwide. And I think that needs to be reflected when we talk about non-white people supporting the system, because I think all non-white people do, but I think it needs to be I think it's important to be accurate and acknowledge that those non-white people are subject to white people. They are not decision makers in this. They are victims. So whatever support that they provide for this system is done from a subordinate status. I think that's critical. I think that's critical.
But also, a lot of white people are not in charge, right?
Well, I would look at it. A guest on the program, Mr. Neely Fuller Jr., he is a victim of white supremacy. He used the analogy of, if you see an opposing army and you see people on the opposing army, you see one person taking out the trash, you see one person, he's getting beat up, and the other people on the opposing army, they're all mistreating that one person, and he doesn't get a tent, he doesn't get good food. He's still on the opposing army. That's the way I look at the system of white supremacy. There are white people who are mistreated, who don't have a lot of money, who don't have a lot of resources. They are still white. And in the system of white supremacy, that is huge.
Do you see white people as your enemy, all white people?
I see every white person I see as a suspected racist, and I don't believe I'm not going to, at this point, we've done over 100 programs, so I can't say for sure, but it's been very rare for a white person to come on this program and say that there's something incorrect about that. The vast majority, and I normally have only white people come on the show. That's kind of changed of late and been having more non-white people, but this program started, it was pretty much just having white people come on, and the vast majority of white people have said that there's nothing illogical, irrational, or incorrect about that. In fact, most of the white people have said that that would be constructive to replace white supremacy with justice if non-white people were suspicious of every white person. No exceptions.
Okay. Always? Like you don't, I mean, I assume that's an initial feeling or thought, but do you ever get to know someone and then not consider them your enemy? Is that possible? Can someone prove that they are not against you?
I don't use the term enemy, but I stick with suspected racist. Each individual non-white person, I would encourage them to develop their own code for how they go about replacing white supremacy with justice. My code, as long as white supremacy exists, I'm in a vulnerable state as a non-white person, specifically as a so-called black person. I'm in a vulnerable state. There's no reason for me to not be suspicious of a white person as long as the system exists, because white people have shown that they can be very deceptive. There's just a great deal of evidence that would suggest that white people are very good at tricking non-white people into thinking that they're not racist. And we just had a white person, Dr. Joe Fagan. He's a professor at Texas A&M. He's written 50 books on racism, and he said that that is one of the core aspects of how white people practice racism, is to give the appearance that they are not racist, to do all the right things, say all the correct things, so that people don't think they're racist, but in fact they are racist, and they do support racism, white supremacy consciously. So I mean, that's coming from a vulnerable position. That's my stance. I would encourage you to think about it, and I'm begging, please come hang out on Easter Sunday when Mr. Tim Wise makes his 4th trip. I'm pretty certain Tim Wise, he'll be able to give you a great explanation as to why you should be suspicious of even him. He said that on the last show. You should be suspicious of even him. With all the work that he does talking about racism, you should suspect that even he is dedicated to seeing this system stay in place.
Okay. And so there's no situation where a non-white person should not be suspicious of. I mean, I guess what I pretty much want to say is, when I go home for Christmas, should I be, like, suspicious of my dad? And I also think that everybody's racist to a certain extent. Now, that doesn't mean maintaining white supremacy, but I'm sure there are black people that, well, do you think that it's possible for black people to be considered racist when they have negative ideas about white people? And I mean, I guess that doesn't somehow, quote unquote, count as much, because that doesn't maintain the system of white supremacy. But in terms of, if we forget political or advantage, financial advantage, even public safety, because I understand that feeling vulnerable as a non-white person in this system out in the world. but I think in terms of the human spirit and the ways that we should connect with each other, that everybody has racist thinking that is counterproductive to that, whether or not it maintains this particular system of white supremacy. That it is global, but I keep focusing on the United States because it's where I am, and it's kind of what I know most about, even though I feel like I know very little about anything.
Me too.
But about that any kind of racism that comes from a non-white person, I guess, is all I mean.
I know you said you got 90 minutes, so I want to save a little time.
Yes, I know. I can't believe how fast this time flies.
That's why the program is 2 hours. It's always the discussion is pretty involved. You have to come back. You have to come back and hang out again, because I wanted to talk about President Obama and Jennifer Beals.
Oh, well, that's 2 hours right there. No, I'm just kidding. But I really want to talk about those things.
Yeah, you have to come back and do another chat with us. I'll go.
Okay, well, good. I'm glad I'm invited.
Yeah, you're Tiffany Jones. How could you not be invited? I will say before I go to the phone lines, Tim Wise, my co-host is not here, Justice. She asked him at the end of the show he did in January if it is possible for non-white people to be racist, and he said no. And he gave a pretty solid explanation as to why that is. And I think every white person that has come on this program, I think they have also concurred that it is not possible for a non-white person to be racist in a system of white supremacy. Though they might have negative feelings about white people who mistreat them based on their own experiences and abuse in the system of white supremacy, that does not qualify them as a racist. And as Lauren Ashley, loyal listener, as she pointed out, a lot of this would boil down to what do you mean when you say racist? Definitions are very important. But I want to tap phone lines because a lot of people called in and wanted to chat with Tiffany Jones. 404. If you got a question for Tiffany Jones, you are live on the air. 404.
Hi, Gus. Hi, Tiffany.
Hi.
Greetings.
Hey. Tiffany, first I just have a comment. I just wanted to tell you, because you said that, it had hurt your feelings before when black people told you that you were not black enough. And I have heard that from another mulatto friend of mine. But I just wanted to encourage you and tell you that that's a very common thing that goes on in the black community, the quote-unquote black community. Just 3 days ago, I was hanging out with some young black females, some little girls, and they found out that I didn't know how to cornrow, and they're like, "You're supposed to be black. Is she black?" So nobody is black enough for black people, Tiffany.
That is something I have come to understand, but I don't think when I was 8, 9, 10 that I was able to get that. But I do thank you for sharing that. That's a good one.
Sure, no problem. And then also you had said that you don't like to be classified, like there's something negative about mulatto. Is that similar to how the word miscegenation is negative? Like, what's the deal with the word mulatto? Why is that bad?
Well, it means, I guess if you look it up in the dictionary, it's the sterile offspring of a horse and a mule, or a horse and a donkey and it is a mule, something like that. So it's the animal connotation, the sterilization. That's just not. It's negative, I guess, to a lot of people. And I understand that. I can't say that definition pleases me, but I also think I can use that word if I want to anyway, because it is the only word that right off the bat is black and white. And, frankly, I can't, when mulatto meant the first generation offspring, I cannot create another first-generation combination of black and white. And we could get into, well, everybody's mixed, and can anybody really do that? But I just mean, in the most basic terms, that there is some validity in that way, and I choose to use the word anyway, even though it's not my favorite word.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Love, Truth, and Liberation. Thank you, thank you. Always a pleasure to hear her. From Atlanta, Lauren Ashley called in. Lauren Ashley, did you have a question for Tiffany Jones?
No, I don't at this time.
Okay. 850, do you have a question for Tiffany Jones? 850.
No, just listening.
Groovy. Thank you, sir. Okie dokie. I don't know what happened to my switchboard. Like, 2 other people called in and their calls got dropped. So if y'all want to call in, we have like 9 minutes before Tiffany Jones departs. 347-215-6071. I can catch you if we can get it in 9 minutes. If not, I had tons of stuff that I didn't even get to. You said that in one of your, well, I guess I'll ask, you brought up your father. Did your white father, did he talk to you about racism? Did he give you any helpful information about racism?
Well, this one time, well, maybe I would say 2 times. It comes to mind. I think I have a pretty good memory, but I can't say I remember everything. But once at my grandmother's, my white grandmother's, I befriended a little girl down the street from her, and I was so excited because, she was like a couple years older than me, and so I thought she was cool. And, well, long story short, her dad told her she couldn't play with me anymore because I was black. And she told me this in front of some of our other neighborhood friends who, of course, were all white, and I was just so humiliated and sad and crushed by this. And I remember my dad coming home or coming to get me that day, and my grandmother told him what happened. I don't think I saw that, but I do remember him saying that there are some people in the world who think that they're better than other people for stupid reasons, and it's not a reflection of who you are, and you're a wonderful person, and those people are ignorant. I'm really paraphrasing here, but I know that that's the point he was trying to make. So that happened. And one time in college, I had a problem with a director that was directing a show I was in, and my dad was like, well, maybe he just has a problem with strong, independent black women. And that just really caught me off guard, and that it had been a long time since I think I heard him, I don't know, even acknowledge that any of those statements that he made were what I was. But that moment definitely stands out to me, so it was important in some way, in a positive way. But no, we have not had many, even now after me, delving into all of this, haven't had many conversations about race. I've always been feeling like I'm saving it up for some big interview I'm going to do for a documentary film, but maybe I'm just supposed to do the interviews first, and the other stuff comes later. I haven't figured all that out yet.
Wow. Fascinating. Man, I would love the chance to have Tiffany Jones and her father on the program. I think that would be really interesting.
Then my mom's going to feel left out.
Bring her too.
I would love to do that. I'll ask them. I can't make any promises. They haven't seemed to want to get too involved in all this in a public way, but I'm hoping sometime soon. So I'll put it out there.
They can stay anonymous. Anonymous. And we wouldn't be able to see them, so they could preserve.
That's true. Maybe that just, yeah.
That I will share with you. I think it is fascinating to study non-white people who have a white parent, or non-white people who have been adopted by white people, because you really get to see some fascinating sides of racism, white supremacy that you probably wouldn't catch anywhere else. And one of the trends that I have noticed is that non-white people who have a white parent, their white parent does not assist them with racism, white supremacy in terms of sharing information about how it works, sharing information about how to deal with white people. I've even had quite a few non-white people who have a white parent say that they have had acute incidents of being mistreated because they are not white and their white parent did nothing.
Oh, no. Well, here, can I share one more thing right
sure.
quick? I broke my neck in Indiana doing a different play, a different director. And my dad ended up there on the day that I had to go to the hospital and taken to the emergency room because my pain was so awful. And I went into, the room to be seen by the doctor by myself. And that man came in and was just treating me, like I had a hangnail and had come to the emergency room when really I had a broken bone in my neck and was in a lot of pain. And he was kind of mocking my pain. And he stepped out of the room for a minute, and I went to get my dad. And I said, this guy is not treating me right, and I need you in here with me. And, he came in, and he wasn't rude or anything, but he had a firm attitude with the man. And I know that he believed what I was saying. And that was also important because he didn't just say, I know some white people would have a tendency to say, oh, maybe he was just having a bad day or, whatever about the doctor to excuse that. But, being part of an interracial couple in the 60s and 70s, I think, taught my dad maybe a lot about racism and stuff that he might not have been aware of or looking at, but I know he does see it.
Man, let's see if we can get him on the program. And your mom. and your mom. That I think a lot of listeners, I think, would be real interested in hearing that. Plus,
real interested in that.
And you have a big audience, so you're a big audience, and my significant audience. I think a lot of people would be, and you can include that in the documentary. That would be fabulous material. Yeah, you have to come back. You have to come back.
Okay.
You already have your invitation. You have to come and chat again because we have to do Jennifer Beals and President Obama and lots of other stuff we have to talk about. So
okay, great.
Yes, this is not goodbye. This is just until you make your return trip to the cows.
Great.
And definitely April 4th, Tim Wise, admitted racist white supremacist. It will be 7:30 p.m. your time, Easter Sunday. 7:30 p.m. Easter Sunday. Tim Wise, fourth trip on the cows here at Blog Talk Radio. Yes, I want you to come on the line so you can ask him some questions, get clarity, and ask him if he thinks it would be constructive for you to be suspicious of every white person, no exceptions.
Okay. I will. And I'll just listen to the January show so I don't waste time making him repeat himself. But that is one thing I will do.
Groovy. If you have time, he was on... Thank you. I thoroughly enjoyed it and look forward to the return trip. Tiffany Jones, Part 2, Context of White Supremacy. Have a wonderful evening and enjoy your spring.
You too, sir.
I shall. Tiffany Jones, check out the blog. Mulatto, wait a minute, make sure I'm getting the Addy right. MulattoDiaries.wordpress.com. Tiffany Jones. Thank you. We will be in touch soon.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to it. Have a good one.
You too.
Take care.
Context of white supremacy. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back. The folks called in, if you want to share thoughts, questions, comments, feel free. We're going to take a quick commercial, and we'll be right back.
Is racism hurting you? On issues of race, are you unable to speak, think, and act with clarity and confidence? Are you tired of laughing when nothing is funny, smiling when you are not happy, agreeing when you really disagree? counterracism.com, you can learn specific strategies and techniques to counter the behaviors of the people who practice racism in all areas of activity, using words correctly, following counter-racist logic, even counter-racist science projects designed to reveal what racism is, how it works, and how to counter it. The open source code writing format allows you to pick and choose from a variety of counter-racist suggestions so you can produce the code that works for you. Stop by counterracism.com today and help replace racism with justice.
That's counter-racism.com.
Context of White Supremacy, Gus T Renegade, and Justice. Justice email address, justice.asap@yahoo.com. One more time, justice.asap@yahoo.com. I hope Justice is out frolicking in the sun. It is springtime in the Pacific Northwest. I almost did the show outside today. Truthfully, I was just lazy. I was in a comfortable spot inside, and I didn't feel like moving. But, man, the cherry blossoms, the sun, blue skies. If you have not been to the Pacific Northwest in the summertime or springtime once it gets warm, you're missing out. Somebody just called in. I'll double check to see if they had anything. Whoever just called in, your number's showing up as 111. Are you there? Did you have a question, comment?
No, Gus, just listening.
Oh, okay. Groovy. Thank you. It's Mr. 909. Thank you, sir. I enjoyed having Tiffany Jones on the show. I was a little concerned. She has a white parent, so I thought, I don't know. I know people think Gus is crazy and don't agree with me, and I've got my male entitlement issues and everything else. So I was concerned. I did not think. I thought this could go bad for a lot of reasons, and I think we should have Tiffany Jones back. That was great. Like she thought non-white with a white parent. She thought that was accurate. Hey, blackness, abuse under the system of white supremacy. She thought that was accurate. White culture. White supremacy, she thought that was accurate. Like, it took a little more work. I noted that. I had to ask another question, but she thought that was accurate. Like, I would thoroughly enjoy having her back because I would love. She has a lot of just really interesting videos on President Obama, who also has a white parent. I'm ringing the cowbell, but this does not count in the count. That does not count as a part of. The bell rings when she was on the program. So it's there, but that doesn't count. But yeah, she has a lot of interesting videos about President Obama, about passing, Jennifer Beals, who was in, Feast for All Saints. She also played Sally Hemings in a movie about the whole Monticello shenanigans with Thomas Jefferson. Yeah, we gotta get her back on the show, and she seemed like she was cool with that, so that'll be great. It would be fantastic if we could get her white father and black mother on the program with her. I think that would be very interesting. I'd be particularly interested to see her father or to hear from her father. Very interesting. Very interesting. But, yeah, Tiffany Jones. And she's kind of cute. Like, very rare that we get cute females as guests on the show. Lots of cute females call the show. Happens all the time, but very rare to have cute females as guests. I'm accustomed to, Tim Wise and Mr. Fuller and Dr. Joe Fagan and 70-year-old white people and such. So, yeah, I'll take Tiffany Jones over any of them in terms of just, having a cute person on the line. At any rate, see other people, other codified victims. They felt like if she got more exposure to correct information, they think she would see the truth about the system of white supremacy. I think so too. I'll see if anybody had anything they wanted to share because we do have folks on the line. Lauren Ashley, did you have anything you wanted to share or love? Truth and Liberation. Oh, wow. Okay, I'm missing some people. 916, if you had anything you want to share, you're on Or you're not yet. It's not doing it for some. Okay, I got you. 916, got you. You're on if you have anything to share. 850 if you have anything to share. Anything?
Can I be heard?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I hope it's not too much interference. Yeah, I logged in late. I didn't realize you were having a show this afternoon, but yeah, definitely please have her back on the show because I would love to have asked her some questions in regards to parental abuse and if she feels that a child can be abused by a parent without the child actually considering the treatment abuse. That along with some other issues.
I think that would be a great question. Yeah, I think that would be a great question. Y'all have to be very gentle with Tiffany Jones. Like, gotta be gentle, Tiffany Jones. But I think she would answer. And I'm not saying that as a bad thing. Just I know some of her videos. It's tough. It's tough talking about racism. I'm old and a black male, double whammy. So I'm accustomed to people just being rude and curt when they talk to me. I'm accustomed to my victimization. Yeah, I think that would be great. I I plan on trying to get her back on the show as soon as possible. I have to take that back. April has gotten very full already. I don't have to do a lot of reading because I don't have to read a book to get her on the show. But April has gotten very full already. There has been a Dr. Martin Kevorkian sighting. Dr. Mwalimu Baruti, he's coming back. I just had another person confirmed for April 1st. Tim Y show got moved to Easter Sunday. The White Privilege Conference is taking up a whole week in there. Dr. Nell Irvin Painter, she just did a book on the history of white people. She's coming on the show. April has gotten very full already, so I don't know when it'll happen, but I will make an effort to get her on the show as soon as possible. And yeah, I think those are great questions about her dad and what he told her about if he mistreated her or any other non-white people. Or other white people in the family, because it's not just him. I mean, she's got white grandparents and, presumably white cousins, all that stuff. So, yeah, there's a lot of material with Tiffany Jones. So, yeah, hopefully we can get her back real soon. I don't know. Anybody else? Mr. Nero, if you had anything else as well. You're there. Your mic is still open, Mr. Nero, Lauren Ashley, and 850.
The only other comment I'd like to make is I'd really like to nip this whole black people being racist in the bud. When things like that come out, I mean, to me, it's just absolute foolishness. Because if you just ask them how are black people racist, they can't answer that question.
Yeah, definitions, man, definitions. Definitions. Once you get that definition on the table for what is a racist, then you can start to get a lot of clarity around that, I think. If we'd had more time, that's what I would have done, just get her to define what does she mean when she says racist, and just go from there. And keeping in mind that these definitions have to make sense in the context of white supremacy. Yeah, that's all I would have done. But hopefully Tim Y, hopefully he can knock that out of the park on Easter Sunday, because I suspect she will tune in for Tim Y. She's a fan. She mentions him in several of her videos, Tim Y, and she plays sound clips of him like she seems to be a fan. So that'll be great. Easter Sunday, Tim Y, Tiffany Jones, Justice, Gus T Renegade. That should be a lot of fun. Yeah, hopefully we can crush that so no one else references a non-white person as racist. That would be excellent, great progress. Lauren Ashley, did you have any thoughts? Would you think anything?
It was constructive.
Did you feel confused, or you feel like you got clarity as the program went along?
About the whole blackness, whiteness, really get that? She said she didn't. What she say that
She said she didn't understand that either.
Exactly. So I don't use terms like that I don't understand, and yeah, that's really confusing. But it was cool.
Yes, I'm going to hopefully get her back. I'm a fan, Tiffany Jones, and she is very cute. Hakima is typing in. I don't recall saying that Hakima is cute. I think she is putting words in my mouth.
Please put your phone on break.
Distortion. I'm not sure where that came from. Yeah, I don't recall saying that Hakima is cute, but we'll go ahead and let that ride. Yes, Hakima, victim of racism, white supremacy, and host here at Blog Talk Radio. Yes, she is also cute, more nationally. All of the non-white females that have called in, I'm not going to take time to rattle off all the names, but yes, thank you to all of the cute non-white female victims of white supremacy who've called the program or participated in some way. Thank you. You know who you are. Right on. I guess we got 20 minutes left. I could, if y'all want to share, we could do that. I didn't get an opportunity to share my thoughts on Brooklyn's Finest from the program yesterday. I could toss a thought or two on that, or you all could, if you have things that you would like to share about today's program or other incidents.
Well, I had a request and I forgot to do it because, like, as soon as you said my name on air, my internet started acting up. So when you asked, no, I'm so serious.
Wow.
As soon as you said Lorna Ashley has the same question or something, then it started acting up. So when you asked me, do I have any questions, I couldn't because I was trying to get my internet situation figured out. But I wanted to suggest to her, instead of saying biracial, that she just said, I'm not white with one white parent. I was going to request that of her.
Wow.
I think that would be way more constructive because biracial is really confusing, especially, if you say, well, it's not genetically proven, then why, I just rather, it would be more clear if she said, I'm not white with one white parent. But, it was a little...
I went to you. You could have asked that. I went to you.
I know. I was frazzled because my internet was acting all funky and stuff. After you said my name, I was like, this is some bull crap, man. So yeah, I had that, and I noticed that the whole, you mentioned the pigtail thing that she would. I wanted to ask her, was that a kind of like a defense so white people won't think she's threatening when she talks about racism, like don't beat up on me kind of thing? I don't know, but yeah.
That would be interesting too. That would be, and we have to get her back on the program, and you can ask her about that. I would like to hear her response to that request, though, that she reference herself from this point forward as a non-white person with a white parent. Like, wow, that wow, that would.
I think that was more clear.
I would be very interested to see how people respond to that. Like especially the white people like who listen to her videos and read her blog and stuff. Like, I'd be real curious to see how they respond if it changed from Mulatto Diaries to what was on top was non-white person with a white parent, or that's just what she started using consistently. I'd just be real curious to see how they responded to that.
And I wanted to ask her too, what are these things to be gained for recognizing a middle ground? She said something about middle ground between black and white. Well, what are these things to be gained for recognizing the middle ground?
That would be a good question as well. Yeah, she has some different videos. She has a lot of videos, like it's over 100 and still counting. Oh man, I wanted to ask her to do a video about the show today. I should have squeezed that in. But yeah, she has a lot of videos where she talks about, like, with President Obama. That's why I want to talk about President Obama, because she was saying, like, President Obama and Lenny Kravitz and all of the Jennifer Beals, these non-white people who have a white parent, that they are unifying the white people and non-white people. And I thought that was very interesting. I would have had some questions around that. But yeah, hopefully she'll come back. She'll come back and we can chat it up, and she can clarify that. She can respond to your requests and Mr. Nero's questions as well. I think all of those would be excellent. Because even Elaine Kim, when she was on the program, she said that if you are married to a white person, so presumably that would count if you are the offspring of such a relationship, that you are a stone's throw away from a racist. That was what she said. And Elaine Kim, non-white female, used to be married to a white man, and that was that's her conclusion for being married to a white person, that if it's not the white person directly that you're married to, their family members, you're going to be close to some racists. So yeah, I would love to get her back to get some clarity around that.
Also, the quote-unquote people with one white parent, and then the non-white, on her page, there's a lot of light ones. And when in Missouri, from the people that I know, there's some people that were light and they had very tight curled hair, and there's someone that were dark and had tight curled hair. So I wanted to know how come she didn't have none of those kind of people in the interview. Because this year there's one black parent, one white parent stereotype that, it's light-skinned with curly hair, and that's not true. So, yeah, I would. Okay, I'll be quiet now.
Lauren Ashley, exception to the rule, the one non-white female who is not cute, who calls into the cows.
That's so mean.
We love tater pie. Check out the blog, meamotaterpie.blogspot.com. I'm not reading that title anymore because it's very long, and it is now linked on the page for the cows. So all you have to do is click her name on the show page, and it'll take you to meamotaterpie.blogspot.com, and you can check out her notes on different films and other things related to racism, white supremacy. Very constructive. Check it out. I'm not going to make any more promises. I'm just going to hopefully be constructive so she will stop hounding me about updating my blog and getting some articles. I don't feel bad about it because I've been doing shows. Like we've been working hard on the plantation here at Blog Talk Radio, cranking out shows. Like, man, I lost count for how many we've done this year. We'll be back. Make sure I plug. We'll be back this weekend. Dr. Lester Spence, Dr. Elaine Kim suggested that we get him when she was on the program. He's a black male. He blogs about racism extensively. He had some posts that he thought it would be constructive for non-white people to not have so much contact with white people. He blogged about it. I'll make sure I put a link so you can read that. And he has a lot of other blog posts too, but he's coming on the show this Saturday, 4 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Central, 1 p.m. Pacific. And this Sunday, I'll make sure I'm not, I believe it's Aisha Sekhmet. I think that's the correct pronunciation. If I am incorrect, I'll make sure I clean that up by the time she comes on the show this Sunday. But she'll be here Sunday evening. Yes, I got it. Aisha Sekhmet, yes. That'll be Sunday evening at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Pacific. She is a hip-hop artist. She talks real, live, and direct about racism, white supremacy. She will be in the house. I'll make sure I have a link. It's already written up. You just can't. Oh, you can see it. It's on the front page now. You can click that link, and it should have information about her videos, her blogs, all that stuff. You can check it out. So Aisha Sekhmet, that is Sunday. And Monday, the reschedule, Jessie Daniel. She is a white woman, suspected racist white supremacist, and admitted lesbian. Monday. Her book is Cyber Racism. She investigated the Stormfront website, which is explicit racist white supremacists. She investigated that website and a lot of others. She blogs with admitted racist known as Dr. Joe Fagan. They share the blog racismreview.org. You can check out some of her posts there, but she'll be on the program this coming Monday. So that is 3 consecutive days we'll be riding. Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Cows, cows, cows. Bang, bang, bang. Yeah, I guess I'll plug the other folks and then double check to make sure everybody, if they have anything else to share. If not, I can because it is gorgeous outside. Like, woof, I don't remember it being this nice since last summer out here. Counter-racist evolving engineer. Make sure you support her efforts here at Blog Talk Radio. Her program is also linked right on the show page. You can click it, bang. She did 2 programs over the weekend and has other stuff coming down the pike. Counter-racist evolving engineer. Hakima, who is a cute listener. She is working on other programs that she's scheduling for May, so please support her efforts. She already has her first program about the dangers of skin whitening creams. Please support her efforts. And my man 20 Grand, back of the bus, his blog, nonwhitealliance.wordpress.com, nonwhitealliance.wordpress.com. Again, Justice, I wish Justice had been here. I was real interested to see how Tiffany Jones was going to feel about Justice asking questions and what have you. Hopefully Justice will be in house next time. But her email address, again, justice.asap@yahoo.com. Again, justice.asap@yahoo.com. Yeah, everybody's mic is open, so that's Love, Truth, and Liberation, Mr. 909, Mr. Nero, 850, and Lauren Ashley. Got you all. If you all had anything you wanted to share, anything at all, feel free.
Yeah, this is 850.
Yes, sir.
Hey, question for you. You mentioned in the last show that you would discuss Brooklyn's Finest. I was just wondering what your thoughts were about that movie.
I took pages of notes.
Probably be a whole show, right?
It was supposed to be. It was supposed to be. 720 commented on it. He made a brilliant observation about the end scene where the white man puts the tie string around the black male's throat and chokes him, and he said that was a lynching, basically. It was very symbolic of a black male being lynched, and I thought that was just extraordinary catch. I probably would have missed that if he hadn't. I hadn't seen the film at the time that he made that comment, but when I did watch the film, I saw what he was talking about, and excellent. I don't think I would have caught that if I had just been watching the film. But yeah, I was curious to know if he wanted to do a show on that, because I do think there's enough. I probably could do a whole show. Because there's so much. I think it's real significant that the same person who directed Training Day directed Brooklyn's Finest, which is very interesting. I try to catch trends like that because a lot of different aspects of this film felt like Training Day and felt like Freedom Land. I don't know if people have seen Freedom Land. Freedom Land is with Samuel L. Jackson. He is a enforcement official, and a white woman says that says that her child has been kidnapped by a black male, and they basically put this black neighborhood on lockdown, mistreating non-white people. And I'm gonna go ahead and spoil it for you. You should go watch the film because it's real interesting. It basically turns out that she pulled a Susan Smith. She lied. She killed her own child to have sexual intercourse with a black male. Ugh. She kills her own child accidentally. She overdoses him on cough syrup, so he'll go to bed early so that she can go have sex with her black male partner. She finds out he's dead. She gets that black male to assist her in disposing of the body, and then makes up this story that a black person abducted her, stole her car with her child in it. Samuel L. Jackson was investigating all this and blah, blah, blah. Just a lot of black people got mistreated. A whole lot of black people got mistreated, and you end up feeling sorry for the white woman at the end of the film. That's Freedom Land. But Brooklyn's Finest, elements of it reminded me of Freedom Land. Elements of it reminded me of Training Day. Elements of it reminded me of Monsters Ball. Just really just the degradation that it showed towards black people. On the show yesterday, I talked about my favorite part of the film, after Wesley Snipes has been executed by a black male, the white woman in all black, and she's wearing all black throughout the film. She says, without hesitation, with disgust, really, like, you know, I was just here to arrest Wesley Snipes' character. He's not here. I'm going home. He's dead. I'm going home. I have nothing more to do with this. I don't go to the jungle to clean up monkey, SHI, you know. I just, you know, extraordinary. I wish more white people would speak honestly, because that would cut out a lot of confusion. If you had more white people speaking honestly that way, Tiffany Jones and other people would not be saying, do we need to be suspicious of all white people? Are they really conscious? Do you really think that? Yes, that's what yes. But I mean, there's so much to Brooklyn's Finest. I'm looking at my notes because I wasn't really going to chat about this, but I did take extensive notes. So, oh my God, okay, the scene where Don Cheadle at the beginning of the film, the first time he goes to meet with the white man who is in charge of him, they meet at the restaurant. And it's so many of the same trends that you see in racism, white supremacy. The white man references him by his first name, Clarence. Everybody else is calling him Tango or whatever his nickname, which is interesting. Everybody else is calling him Tango. Clarence. And he's late, of course. He gets to the meeting late, and the white man, you know, you can't be on time. We got to be on CP time here. They're talking, and he used the term fairness. The white guy did. He calls Tango, this is Don Cheadle's character, he calls him my boy. It was just a real degrading scene that reminded me of so many aspects of racism, white supremacy, where white people, you are their boy, you are their child, the way that they talk to you. It reminded me of a lot of scenes that I have seen with a white man talking to a black male. Like the one that jumped in my mind, I guess because I've been talking about Jennifer Beals' Devil in the Blue Dress with Denzel Washington. I don't know if you all have seen that film. Jennifer Beals plays Daphne Monet, the white or the non-white person who's passing for white in that film. When Denzel Washington's character, when he meets the white man who hires him to go and, you know, investigate things, very similar way of talking down to him. You're just a child. You're a boy. Very clear power dynamic of who's in charge, who is the manager in this scene. And I thought that was real blatant in a lot of ways in the way that Don Cheadle's character was being talked to by the white man. Code. Oh my gosh. I told you I wasn't set to talk about this, but I think I can at least do a halfway competent job. I believe the main white character is Michael Greer. I'm gonna look on Internet Movie Database to make sure, but I believe it's Michael Greer. When he is Richard Gere. Thank you, Richard Gere. When he is training the white officer, when he parks the car and he goes in the store, the white officer sees some domestic violence going down. A white guy smacks a female, and they're arguing or whatever. And he gets out of the car to go and quiet all that down. Give me his name again. Is it Richard Gere?
Yeah, Richard Gere.
Richard Gere, thank you. Richard Gere. He comes back, and he's like, hey, what are you doing? He snatches him, and it's like, get in the car. Don't say anything. Get in the car. And the guy's like, what are you talking about? He smacked her. That's domestic abuse. We're enforcement officials. This is what we do. He says, this is not our precinct. You do not go to another precinct and make an arrest. Like, get in the car. And the guy's jumping up and down like, no, he hit her. This is what we do. Get in the car. And I was just like, code is code is code. This is what we are supposed to do. You do not break code. This is not our area. Get in the car. I just thought that was a great illustration of how white people, they make a code and they stick to it. This is what you are supposed to do in all times, all settings. You do not break for anything. I don't care what's going on. You do not break code. Get in the car. Let's go. Just excellent illustration. There were several moments where I felt white people just awesome displays of racism, white supremacy. Let me see. One of the other ones, Going through my notes here. Okay. One of the other ones, this is a trend I have noted in a lot of films. I hope people, I don't believe Professor Griff talked about it when he was on the program, but I have heard him give lectures where he has talked about if you are a non-white person, specifically a black person, and you want to be so quote-unquote successful, make money, get things from white people, you have to show them some loyalty, and your loyalty is demonstrated by mistreating other black people. The scene where Don Cheadle, or I guess a big part of the plot where Don Cheadle, he's supposed to get this promotion. Granted, he's willing to mistreat Wesley Snipes. Like, that's, we've gone undercover, you went to jail for all of this, we're trying to get Wesley Snipes. And I just thought that was so reminiscent of what I've seen in a lot of other films. This happens in Devil in the Blue Dress, incidentally, where Denzel Washington's character comes up by a lot of other non-white people being mistreated, a lot of other non-white people either dying or somehow being mistreated. He ends up coming out okay and getting a house and doing better. But this is a standard trend in the system of racism, white supremacy. And I remember it stuck in my mind, Professor Griff, when he was saying that Damon Dash, he had to make a blood sacrifice, he called it, with Aaliyah. He was talking about other non-white people who've got a lot of money or resources that they've had to make some sort of sacrifice to show their allegiance to racist man and racist woman. And he talked about Bill Cosby. He lost his son. Kanye West lost his mom. He had a long list of these people who, Michael Jordan lost his father. He had a long list of these people who have lost someone very close to them under suspicious circumstances often, and talking about that he thinks that is symbolic of having to show your allegiance to white people and being able to mistreat non-white people for them. I think that is a huge aspect of racism, white supremacy, and sometimes it even has to be yourself. I would say Halle Berry, that's another example where you have to degrade yourself to show allegiance to white people. I think they don't mind that either. If you're going to mistreat yourself, that's fine, no problem. As long as it's supporting racism, white supremacy, and the mistreatment of non-white people. Let's see, what are some of the other things? Oh my goodness, the relationship that, the relationship, my man, give me the gentleman's name, Greer. Is it David Greer?
Richard Gere.
Richard Gere, thank you. Richard Gere, I should write that down. Richard Gere's sexual relationship with the black female. Oh my. I think I touched on an aspect of this yesterday. Very degrading. Just every aspect of it, extraordinarily degrading. And I thought of when Richard Bernstein was on the program, and he wrote, for the people who missed it, he was on the program in October. He wrote The East, the West, and Sex, which is about white people sexually exploiting Asian females. And when he was on the program, and he's married to a white woman, he's married to an Asian female, he said that these relationships are mutually exploitative. That's what he said on the program. And I paused him and I asked that everyone listening think about that. Now, if you think these white people going around the world to bed up with an Asian female who's struggling and they don't have a lot of money because of the system of white supremacy, if you think that's mutually exploitative, that's what I thought of the first time I saw them together in the scene. Am I supposed to think this is mutually exploitative? She's taking advantage of him because he's lonely and doesn't have, any companionship in his life. He's taking advantage of her because she's in a bad spot. I guess you could read it that way. That's not the way I read it in a system of white supremacy, that she's in that position because of white men and white women who practice racism, white supremacy. But just real degrading, and in particular, when it gets close to the end of the film, when he's making his pitch, Mr. Greer, when he's making his pitch for her to, I guess, come stay with him. They're going to Connecticut or someplace, like they're going to be a couple. And she's got him a watch. And I thought that was really significant because when he retired, I was waiting on the watch. Like, I don't know if that's a stereotype, if they really do that, but I thought he was going to get his watch when he retired, and they didn't give him a watch. And he goes to, his negress, and she gives him his watch. And I just like, white people they are really clowning here. Like, they're going to make sure he gets his watch, and he didn't get what he was supposed to. His negress bed warmer, belly warmer, she hooks him up and makes sure that he gets his watch, so he's not missing anything that he's supposed to have as a white man. And even the whole pitch of trying to get her to come stay with him, I didn't find anything redemptive about that. That didn't make me feel good. I saw that as even being exploitative. Let me take you out of all this. You're hoeing yourself out, letting everybody from the precinct come in and hop up and down on you for 10 or 15 minutes to make some money. Come stay with me. We'll go to Connecticut. Lauren Ashley, Stockholm Syndrome. Let me take you away from all this. We'll go to Connecticut and just hang out with white people. That was what I thought when he makes this whole pitch. And, she declines. Nothing made me feel good about her declining it either. I'm going to stay here and just be a whore. I don't want to go stay with you. I'll just stay here and be a whore. Nothing about it made me feel good. Just further exploitation, victimization, and trashing non-white females. And again, they always get really attractive non-white females to do this. I talked about this on the program last night, how they'll get Rosario Dawson or Eva Mendes and put them in these roles as being a prostitute for white men. They bang Rosario Dawson up like this all the time. She's in Rent. I believe she has AIDS, and she's a crackhead, and some white guy saves her. I mean, pretty much every film they just throw her in. It's something just really ugly and degrading like that. Let's see. While I'm looking for my next one, did you have any comments if you've seen the film, if I'm saying anything absurd, or if I missed any aspect, or if you don't agree with something that I've picked out of the film?
Well, nothing absurd here. I mean, you call it exactly as it's being displayed.
I know Mr. I'm sorry. Anybody else? I don't know if anybody else on the line has seen the film. Anybody else?
I haven't seen the film, so I can't comment.
Okay. It's a doozy. I'm sorry.
Did you hear me?
Did you say you had not seen the film?
Yeah.
Okay. I suspect if you do catch it, Lauren Ashley, I suspect you will want to take notes on it because it's like chock full of stuff. There is what 720 when he I think he talked about this on the show we did about Flash Forward, Lauren Ashley and I. He was saying that he tries to monitor his emotions, right, when he's watching these films to see if he's being manipulated, right, to see if he is feeling sorry for the white character, if something happens to them, or if they get mistreated, like, oh, I'm really sad about that, or if you're rooting for them conversely. To really pay attention to that. And I think this film it's a pretty solid example of how white people will make films so that the people that you develop attachments to are the white characters. In this film, I feel like I'm ruining it for the people that I'm not ruining it because I knew a lot about this film before I watched it, but there's so much racism in it. If you're interested in watching films to pick out racism, I'm not ruining it. It'll be tons of stuff that you'll really enjoy your experience if you like picking out racism in films.
Scene after scene.
Yes. Well, the duration, and it's just like Flash Forward. The racism will escalate as the movie goes. It'll be more and more racism as this film progresses. This film starts with a black male has been killed by an enforcement official. Unjustly, he was not armed. That's how the film starts, right? You have black people protesting. And that's all the black people do in this film is die and protest, nothing else. Die, protest, and have sex with white people. That is the extent of black conduct in this film. Die, protest, have sex with white people. and take orders and victimization from white people. That's it. They don't do anything else. So that's how the film starts. Black male, unjustly killed. White people are trying to manage the situation, or not trying. White people are managing this situation. You don't connect with the black person who's been killed. You don't connect with his family. You don't get to go and meet his family and friends and find out, how they feel. You don't connect with them at all. The people that you connect with most in this film are, let me pull it up so I can stop asking you all. Is the gentleman's name Richard Gere?
Yes. Yes,
Richard Gere. That's the one character you connect most with, and I believe it's Ethan Hawke.
Yes.
Who coincidentally is the same white man who played in Training Day. He was Denzel Washington's recruit, the person Denzel Washington's character was training in Training Day. Those are the two characters that you connect with most in this film. You get to meet Ethan Hawke's whole family. You get to meet his daughter, all of his kids, his wife. His wife is pregnant. I mean, you get to connect with him in an extremely intimate way. His house, he doesn't have a lot of money, or he's not making a lot of money, or what have you. His house has mold in it, and it's having an impact on his wife's health, and she's pregnant, and this is causing some complications for his unborn. It's not even child; he's having twins, so it's causing some complications for his unborn twins. And they show you the scene at the hospital, like you get to go and you hear the doctor, and the doctor advises him to move, and he's just really stressing about this. So you really connect with this character, like, man, I want him to get this money. The other character, Richard Gere, the film starts after they show you the black person that was killed unjustly at the beginning of the film. You see Richard Gere. He's in his house, he's in his bed, and he's struggling. He wakes up, he puts a gun to his head. You just see that he's just going through lots of trauma. He gets to work, he's being picked on. Even a black male picks on him. And another white person gets him in line really quick, like, hey, get over. And the way he gets him in line, the white male says, hey, didn't you take my Playboy? And they walk off, exit scene. But yeah, he's, just having a tough time. He's about to retire. He's sexually engaged with this black female prostitute. You really get to see a lot of intimate no pun intended. You get to see a lot of intimate aspects of Richard Gere's character in this film. Don Cheadle's character, no. When you see him, he is beating down other black people, being told what to do in a very subservient manner by other white people. He's setting up black people to be arrested by white people. You don't really get to connect with his character in the same way. He doesn't have family. You don't get to meet his parents. You don't get to meet his kids, his wife, nothing. He's not connected to anything but black thugs. That's the way they're portrayed in the film. Black people who beat up, sell drugs, and mistreat other black people. So as this film evolves, and you see the stress that all of these three main characters are under, that's Richard Gere, Don Cheadle's character, and Ethan Hawke, your perception of them and the connection of them is very much influenced by, what you see these people doing. So by the time you get to the end of the film, even though Ethan Hawke's character, he is plotting to steal drug money. Like, that's basically what he's doing the whole film, is plotting to steal drug money from black people. Like, every time that they go to bust black people who are selling drugs, he is not following the rules, breaking the rules as an enforcement official to try to steal this drug money so that he can get a house, so that he can buy a house for his pregnant wife and his 3 kids. I believe he has 2 boys and 1 daughter. That's what he's doing the whole film. Every time they go to a raid, that's what he's trying to do. He chases down a black male who does not have money. He beats him up. He gets mad because he doesn't have any money and leaves. They go to another house. He sees the money, but he doesn't get the opportunity to take it. He kills a black male, and you don't even blink an eye. Like, they just show you a black male run out, bang, he caps him. The only suspense around this murder is the fact that when he raises his gun, it's in the direction of a white person. The suspense is that, oh my gosh, did he kill a white person so he can steal this money? And then they immediately show you, oh no, he just killed a nigger. Okay, okay, and it goes forward. Like you never see that black person again who's just been shot and killed. It's like, another monkey dead. Anyway, so it keeps going. By the time you get to the end of the film, all the pressure is around, oh my gosh, Ethan Hawke, he needs this house. He needs this house. How's he going to get the money to take care of his family? Richard Gere's character, he just wants to retire. Like, I'm done with this. I don't want to participate in this anymore. I'm trying to just get through my last 2 days so that I can quit and take my my black female prostitute with me when I leave. That's all I'm trying to do. Actually, I'll even stop before I get to the end. Richard Gere, there's a scene where he goes to see the black female prostitute, and when he gets there, a black male is in bed with her having sex, who coincidentally is also an enforcement official and is also the same black male who was picking on Richard Gere's character earlier in the film. He's in there having sex with his black female prostitute. He sees that Richard Gere, he walks in, sees this, and the black female is like, get out of here. I'm making my money. Get out, go away. And so he goes and he sits in the hall and he can hear them. I thought that was very interesting because black males have told me, a lot of this happened before I became informed about racism, but they have told me things that are very similar to this, where white men have approached them about having sex with their white wives and allowing them to watch. I have heard a lot of this from black males being paid to do this or not paid to do it, solicited, whatever, and they just watch. It evoked a lot of those memories because I suspect a lot of this goes on. I suspect a lot of this went on during slavery. As I said, a lot of things are not talked about around around the sex thing. But he watches he doesn't watch. He's not watching, but he listens. You can hear them going at it. The black male leaves, and Richard Gere's character, he goes in and he kisses her. Real interesting scene. Pay attention to that when it goes down. By the time you get to the end of the film, everybody dies except for Richard Gere. Ethan Hawke gets shot trying to steal money. He goes in, he kills like 5 or 6 black people, shoots them down in cold blood. Bang, 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 bang. He's just killing black people left and right. The scene where he goes through killing all these black people, I wasn't prepared to talk about this. For anybody who thinks that I'm doing a poor job, I was not prepared to talk about this right now, so it might be that I'm messing it up. Read Cree's review. She said she was going to do a review on it, so now you can just pressure her to write it and do it correctly. But when Ethan Hawke's character goes to steal this money at the climax of the film, to steal this money from these black people, one big thing to pay attention to, he's getting ready to come off the elevator to kill 3 black males. The black males are talking amongst themselves, and they are complaining about the fact that someone has urinated in the hallway, and they're upset. They're like, man, can't believe this. I stepped in urine. Gosh, hate this. Why do they pee in the hallway? Why do you pee in front of the elevator where everybody's got to walk? And one of the black males says, do you know why? Because they're savages. And I was just like, wow, they've got the black people. I think I said this on the show, but you got the black people referencing themselves as savages before they are gunned down by a white person in the hallway full of urine. Just, ugh. He gets upstairs, this is Ethan Hawke's character. He gets upstairs where he kills some more all black males. He kills these black males who are playing video games. That was the huge note that I wrote from this. I will never play video games again as long as I live. They showed so many scenes where black males ended up going to jail or died playing video games, and I was just like, I'll never waste another 5 minutes playing video games in my life. Like, that's what I learned most from this film. Do not play video games. Black people, stop wasting time playing video games. Lauren Ashley, she talks about distractions all the time. Video games, that is a huge distraction. The amount of time and energy black males especially invest in Madden, Live, PlayStation, all of those games, the Wii, all of that stuff. Stop playing video games. We could be investing our time and energy in something else. I don't care what you do, really. I'm not playing anymore. That's what I got from Brooklyn's Finest. Watching those black males get gunned down while they were playing video games, that was enough for me. No more video games for Gus T Renegade. But Ethan Hawke, he goes in and he catches these guys while they're playing whatever they're playing, and he's taking the money, and a black male comes in and shoots him in the back and kills him. And the camera locks, like you see him and the stunned look on his face, and the first thing that popped in my mind was his pregnant wife, because you've seen them in bed together, you've seen them at the hospital, you met his kids. I mean, it's just like, oh my God, they killed Ethan. Oh my God, his wife, he's got twins on the way, he's got 3 kids. It's just a total catastrophe, and he drops on the floor, and the camera locks in on his face, and you see he's got money. He's just got hands full of money, and blood starts getting all over the money, and it's just like, oh my God, I can't believe it. They killed him. Oh, what a world. It's such a catastrophe. And you go immediately from this, and I know most people seeing that is just, they feel horrible about that. He's just killed about 6 black males, and you feel bad. There's no part that feels like this is just, like he got what he deserved. He should have died. He just killed all these black males who weren't doing they were playing video games. He just walked in and shot black people who were playing Madden. You cut immediately from this scene to Don Cheadle's character. He's going to get the black male who killed Wesley Snipes' character. He's going to get him because he's mad. He had befriended Wesley Snipes. He was trying to help him out and keep him from going to jail. So he's going to shoot this black guy who killed Wesley Snipes' character. He goes, he finds the guy, and he's going to gun him down in the street. And he's standing over him, and the guy is, trying to beg for his life and everything. Ethan Hawke shot this guy once, and he was trying to get away. But now Don Cheadle's found him, and he's going to finish the job. And Don Cheadle's like, whatever, and guns him down in the street. And he shoots him, bang, bang, bang. He unloads his clip, takes his clip out, puts a new clip in, and starts shooting again. It's just crazy. So he's unloaded 8, 9 shots into this guy. Then all of a sudden, Don Cheadle gets shot, and it's like, oh my God, who shot him? And a white guy runs up. It's the white guy who is Ethan Hawke's partner. He shot Don Cheadle 2 or 3 times, killed him. Don Cheadle falls on the ground. He's dying, but he falls on his back. So the white guy runs over, and then he can see, oh no, I shot a police officer. And so he runs away. He's like, let me call for backup, and he just scurries away from the scene. It gives you the impression, the way they shoot it, it suggests that he's not going to do the correct thing and let them know what happened, that he shot this guy, that he shot Don Cheadle's character. The way they shoot the scene, it suggests that it's just going to be, I don't know what happened. I just got here. He was dead. That's the impression that they give you. And it's particularly ugly because he does not identify himself as a police officer. He doesn't do anything to try to not use lethal force. He just starts shooting. Bang, 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 bang. And then, whoops, shouldn't have shot him. It's totally different in that you don't connect to Don Cheadle's character when he dies. Number one, because he gets gunned down in the street like all the other black people, but you don't connect to him dying the way you connect to Ethan Hawke dying, because you haven't met Don Cheadle's girlfriend. He doesn't have a girlfriend. You haven't met his kids. You get to meet Ethan Hawke's children. He doesn't have a pregnant wife that is waiting on him to come home and to try to get a new house with. He doesn't have any of that. He doesn't have any family. He doesn't have any friends. He's just been around drug dealers and murderers the whole film. So it's a total different feel when Don Cheadle's character is killed. And he's in the process of gunning down a black person when he gets shot. So totally different feel. I gotta back because I talk about the racist jokes thing all the time. There is an extraordinary scene. I'd put this second to when the white woman says she doesn't go in the jungle and clean up monkey poo. There's a scene when Ethan Hawke's character, the white man who kills Don Cheadle's character, and some other enforcement officials. I'm not sure if they're all white. I know they're not black, but one of them looks like he could be so-called a non-white person who would be labeled so-called Latino, but they're not black. They could be all white. Maybe it's, a bunch of white people and one non-white person. Non-white, non-black person. Anyway, they're playing cards, and they're playing poker or whatever. And Ethan Hawke's daughter comes downstairs. She's like a 16-year-old, 17-year-old female. She comes downstairs, and she's got a black female with her. They're going out. It's weekend or Friday or whatever. They're going out. And Ethan Hawke gives her some money, and she leaves. They go back upstairs, and one of the guys says, "Oh, my, I didn't know we were this close to Harlem, man." And he starts making a lot of racist jokes because his daughter had a black female with him. And so this goes on for a while. And finally, the white guy, who is Ethan Hawke's partner, he says, "Hey, do you want me to sock you? I'm married to a black female." The guy who's been telling, or one of the guys who's been telling the racist jokes, he says, "What does that have to do with anything? My girlfriend is black." Ha, 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 ha. And they have a big laugh about this. And then he says, "We both go to buy cocoa butter together." Ha, 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 ha. And they just keep laughing. Ethan Hawke socks this guy. And he says, "You racist, what are you doing making comments like that? Da-da-da-da. I can't believe this." And everybody gets mad at Ethan Hawke. They're like, "I can't believe you just hit this guy." Like, what is wrong with you? I can't believe you just did that. Like, no one is upset about all these racist remarks, the implications of somebody making racist jokes who's having sex with a non-white person. Nobody's really, angry about that. They're angry that he socked this guy. And then they ask, "Why'd you sock him?" He says, "Man, I'm so stressed. I can't get this house. I need money. My wife's pregnant." I'm really outraged that this guy's a racist and is talking about mistreating people. I'm just stressed because I can't get in my house. That's what's really bothering me. And Ethan Hawke has been mistreating non-white people for the duration of the film. He's beating down a black male for no reason. He kills, I don't know, he shoots at least 4 or 5 black people, at least, maybe more, I don't know. But this is just for the duration of the film. He's been, in my view, practicing racism. And then all of a sudden he gets angry about this guy making a few racist jokes. Very interesting scene. Make sure you pay attention to that one. The last thing I would point out is excellent illustration. The same thing happened in Rachel Getting Married. Excellent all the way through. Richard Gere's character, he's training another white officer. I think this guy's white. He might be non-white. He looks like he's most likely a white person. He's training this guy, and there's a disturbance at a convenience store. Richard Gere goes in the store with the guy he's training, and they're like, what's the problem? If you can think, this is like Latasha Harlins for people who are familiar. He goes in the store, and there is I'll say 14. I think it's a 14-year-old black male, and the store owner is a non-black, non-white male, significantly older. They're having some sort of dispute. The store owner has some sort of weapon in his hand. The enforcement officials come in, Richard Gere, and they separate the two. They're like, everybody shut up. What is going on? Calm down. Just stop acting crazy. And so everybody is kind of calming down. The man is here now, so everybody is acting like they got some sense. And so Richard Gere says, "Okay, hang on a minute. I'm going to go check this guy's identification. I'll be right back. Don't anybody do anything. Just, sit still and be quiet." And so he stops, and he's going to leave the guy that he's training, this rookie cop. He's going to leave him to just make sure everybody is cool while he's gone. And he stops, and he says, "No, you go do the ID, and I'll stay here and make sure everybody stays cool." And the white guy's like, "Oh, wait a minute. No, I got it. Go ahead and do it. I got it. And Richard Gere's like, no, just, go check the ID. I'll stay here and hold it up. The white guy feeling emasculated, like you don't trust me to handle these niggers. I got it, And the white guy says, hey, man, don't embarrass me out in public. I got it, I can hold the fort. Just go check the ID and things will be fine. So Richard Gere says, okay, I'll go check. He goes to check, and almost as soon as Richard Gere's character leaves, the non-white people start bickering again, and it starts to get louder and louder. And the white person, he focuses his attention on the 14-year-old black male, of course. He eventually wrestles him onto the ground, is going to cuff him, and so they move the camera off so you don't see what happened, but somehow, of course, the black male gets shot and killed, unarmed, shot and killed. So this is like the second time in the story that a black person has been shot and killed by an enforcement official unarmed. Richard Gere, immediately when this scene ends, they jump to Richard Gere. He's at the department, and he's like, it's my fault. It's my fault. I messed up. It's my fault. And he gives the explanation. I knew he should not have been there. I was most responsible. And I said, that is exactly what I continue to say in the system of white supremacy. The people who are most informed, those are the people you blame for anything that happens that is incorrect. That would be white people. As long as the system of white supremacy exists, they are the ones you go to. Same thing played out in Rachel getting married. Person who is most informed, that's the person that you hold responsible if anything happens that is incorrect. I think Mr. Fuller has broke this down, talking about if you are on a ship, you go to the captain. That's the person that's in charge. Anything that happens that shouldn't happen, that's the person you go to. Same thing, and I think this should also apply to non-white people. If you are less confused about racism, white supremacy, you are most responsible for making sure that there is not conflict. If you have dialogue with another non-white person, you are most responsible because you are less confused. You are a little more informed about what's going on in the system of white supremacy. That is part of your new duty as an attempted counter-racist, to make sure that we don't have conflict between people that are more confused. I think that's huge. I could be incorrect, but I think that makes perfect sense, and I see white people demonstrate the logic of that over and over and over again. The person who is most informed, that person bears a much greater responsibility. At any rate, this scene is really nice because there is a black male, once they get to the police station, who is trying to pressure Richard Gere into saying, hey, the guy you shot, he had a record and he had drugs on him. He was a drug seller. All you got to do is say this was a clean shoot. This guy was selling drugs. He got rowdy. He didn't want to be arrested. He knew he was going to get locked up if we had checked his record and found that he had drugs on him. All you got to do is say he shot a drug dealer. Come on, play with us. Do the right thing. And Richard Gere's like, no, not going to do it. No, it's my fault. I shouldn't have left that guy there. I was most informed. I'm to blame for this happening. That something happened that should not have, and I am most to blame for that. And the black male is just like, come on, we can't do this. Come on. And Richard Gere is not buying it. It's very reminiscent, if you saw Crash, very reminiscent of Crash, when the black male was shot and killed, and he was an enforcement official, and they said that they found like drugs, or they found money. They found a lot of cash in his trunk, and so they pressure, I believe it's Robert Downey Jr.'s character. They pressure him. I might be incorrect about the actor, but they pressure him to go along with the story that they want, so they can use racism so it works out for the white people. Very reminiscent of Crash. But yeah, this excellent scene. Pay attention to that one. Real interesting the way it goes down, particularly them getting a black male to pressure him into saying that this guy was a drug dealer and it was a clean shoot. There's one other scene, very important. After the shooting happens, that's when they really escalate, saying, okay, we're going to arrest Wesley Snipes' character. And what they do is they get the white man who is in charge of Don Cheadle's character. If you can think of Training Day, like, right, Denzel Washington, he's like the rogue cop in this, he goes and he meets with the white people. They're in charge. Very similar to how it plays out in Training Day, where Denzel Washington has to go meet with these white people and they tell him what to do. Don Cheadle's character, he goes to meet with this white man and the white woman who makes the comment about the jungle later in the film. He goes to meet with them, and they're like, okay, we have to, they say this verbatim, we have to remind the public who the enemy is, and they pull out a picture of Wesley Snipes' character. Bang, we're going to get him. Man. I mean, incredible scene. Yeah, I'm going to double check to make sure I didn't miss anything major. But, the watch thing, I'll make sure that'll be, I guess, my last thing. Then you all can share if I made anything crazy. But the watch, I thought that was identical to Monsters Ball when Halle Berry, she gets a hat for Billy Bob Thornton's character. Very similar. Same position and everything, where she's this, lowly black female, super victimized, super abused, lacking resources, gets sexually involved with a white person to get more resources and ends up using those resources to buy a very nice gift for the white person, suspected and or admitted racist. Very similar parallel between the two. Just pay attention for that when she gets him a watch, Richard Gere's character, a watch, towards the end of the film. I think... Yeah, I think that's I gotta get... Okay. The other one, when Ethan Hawke goes to steal the money in the last scene where he ends up being killed himself, pay attention to the music that's playing when he enters the apartment where these black males are. When he goes in, it's Busta Rhymes, the song Busta Rhymes did called Where My Money At. If you pay attention to the lyrics, if you could think of a white person saying the lyrics that Busta Rhymes is saying, it would make a lot more sense. It would be like racism, white supremacy in real easy, bold print, black and white. Like it's saying, I don't care what's going on, nigga, give me my money. Like it says nigga alive, like nigga, give me my money. I don't care what's going on. I show up in the ghetto, give me my money. If you had a white person saying that, it would be real clear about what racism, white supremacy is. I dominate anywhere, anytime, your so-called hood, whatever. It's what I say. Give me my money or whatever. You're going to be doing what I want you to do. If you could just, and because a white person is dominating in this scene, it would be better if they had got a white person to be saying the lyrics. In fact, it would have been great if they had got like Eminem to do the song, do the same song, same lyrics, so you'd have a white person saying it. It would have been fantastic. And he should have said nigger the whole nine, because it was just white domination of niggers. That's what the scene showed, and that's the soundtrack that they had playing in the background. It was just they had Busta Rhymes singing the song. But pay attention to the song and the specific words that he's saying as Ethan Hawke is gunning down these black males and taking their money. Pay attention to that. Yeah, let's see if I have anything. Yeah, I guess that the biggest thing, video games, number one, that was huge that I took away. Not playing video games anymore. Video games, pay attention to the black people and their relationship to games. They're playing video games while all this is going on. White people are making decisions about what they're going to do and mostly killing and harming black people. Number two, huge thing, you are only surprised when white people die in this film. That's really the only time that there is some shock, suspense, anger about a murder is when white people die. I don't think there's as much shock or outrage when Wesley Snipes' character dies in this film. He was about to go to jail anyway. I mean, it's not really that big of a surprise. Much different feel when he dies, and also a much different feel when Don Cheadle's character dies. And also, the people in the film respond much differently when black people die as opposed to when white people die. I don't think anyone cries when any of these black people die. except for at the beginning of the film, you see a lot of black people gathered out. They're protesting. They've got their signs and stuff in the street when this black person has been killed. But it's very much presented as chaos. It's very much presented as the jungle. Like you just get a very different feel when the black people die in the film as opposed to when a white person dies in the film. Just Ethan Hawke's character, it's a very different moment when he dies in the film. You just every scene that they have shot with his pregnant wife, his wife at the hospital, she's struggling because of the mold. They are having twins. You get to see his kids running around the house. They're like 6, 7 years old, running around the house. Very different feel when he dies as opposed to all the other black people when they die in the film. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. Like I said, I had not planned to get into all this about Brooklyn's Finest, so if it's a little haphazard and not sequenced correctly, it's because I had not planned to do this. So as I said, I think Cree had talked about doing a film review on this, so hopefully she'll put it together and it'll be super cogent and it will make sense. If this has been helpful, great. If not, don't listen to the show. That's all you have to do is, that Gus dude is whack. His show is whack, and, don't waste your time here at the Cows if it has not been constructive. Any of the folks listening in, if you have your own thoughts about the film or if something I said was not clear, or if you have anything else that you'd like to talk about, if you're just tired of hearing about Brooklyn's Finest, that's fine too. Feel free to hop in and share your thoughts.
Hello?
Well, I'll go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, I think you broke it down pretty good. I haven't seen the movie, but wow, it was like gave me a lot to think about. Did you ever see that Dark Knight?
The Batman? That one?
Yeah.
I have not. I'll see it.
Yeah, because some white people were saying like they were doing like a drinking game to all of the black people that was getting killed in that movie.
What in the world? Who told you this?
Yeah, I seen it on the YouTube. I think it was. It came out a while ago, but I know when it first came out, they were saying like, black people were getting killed left and right. Like the only people who really got killed in that movie were black people. So when you were saying about the deaths in this particular film, I was just wondering, as far as the tally, I wonder is it equal to the Dark Knight?
It's pretty high.
It's pretty high. Maybe they're drinking to this one too.
It's high. I forgot some. I forgot the whole scene at the end where Richard Gere, he goes to save a white woman. He couldn't save the black prostitute, so at least he'll go save this white woman from who these black people have been prostituting, and he kills one. And that scene too is really, really explicit because he shoots a black male in the chest at point blank range, pretty much. And the black male is presented as this King Kong, he just refuses to die. He takes a bullet in the chest and he attacks Richard Gere and is slinging him around the house and, almost beats Richard Gere up even after taking a bullet in the chest at point blank range. And then that's when the lynching scene that 720 happens, where Richard Gere gets the twist tie thing around his neck and chokes him to death, basically. That happens at the end as well, but that's another black male murdered, and there's another black male who is almost naked. He gets him out of the shower and it's almost naked, and he's going to go to jail for shacking or abusing these white women. One of them dies and the other's going to jail. So yeah, the death toll in this for black people is way high, way. I mean, it's over 10. It's over 10. All black males too, I believe.
Wow. 805, I think he asked you the question. I think he's still on the line. No, he wants to get in. I just wanted to make one quick comment about the writers and the directors. I wish you could come out here, man, for just a week, man, and be in L.A., man, and because, you know, I go to the farmers markets and whatnot, and you see these black actors, man, and how they walk around, and you know, black people, like, recognize them, you know what I'm saying, and they just look at these black people like, ew, like get away from me. I mean, I wish you could observe it, man. It is hilarious, man. It's hilarious, man. But at the mall and at the farmers market, you kind of get that vibe. But then, like, at the club, it's different. They kind of want to be jocked, you know what I'm saying? But I don't think people really understand that writers, somebody sits down and write this stuff out. You feel me? How this person is going to be killed, what they look like. You feel me? You feel what I'm saying? I don't think people really recognize that people are behind these productions.
That's a valid point.
And the only reason I brought the actors up is because you said Professor Griff said something about you have to abuse you have to abuse non-white people, you know, if you want to make it. And I've seen actors, man. I haven't observed Don Cheadle out or whatever, but I've seen some pretty so-called famous black actors and actresses, and it seems like they have a disdain for black people in a way. So maybe, like, if they, you know, when they're reading the script and they're seeing all these killings, or I don't know if they're connecting the dots or they just don't care. But from what I've seen, I don't think they really care too much. But I could be incorrect.
Hello? Can I be heard?
Yes.
I think that.
Okay.
Hello? I heard another voice.
I can hear both of you. I think one is Love, Truth, and Liberation, and the other is Lauren Ashley. I can hear both of you.
I wanted to say that I think that oh, dang, what's going on in and out? That a lot of non-white people do that. So I'm not saying you're calling them out, but not a lot of non-white people are not different. You know, a lot of non-white people act way different in front of white people than they're doing in front of other non-white people, or just even black people, period. So, yeah. And it's, you know, it's going to job area. It's not cool to have black people enjoying their time with each other. That's not cool. So, yeah. So I can only imagine, you know, they doing that just to either consciously or subconsciously to please white people. So I just want to put that out there, that a lot of non-white people do that.
And I just wanted to build off of the thing that we were saying about hip-hop, and also about how, you know, these non-white people are being used in order to portray non-white people horribly and abuse us on screen. It seems like, because we know who selects, like, these rappers and who gets to be the voice for these communities. It seems like they're almost like the puppets, or like if you think about ventriloquists, like you throw your voice onto this object with no power. It seems like things that white people want to say. I don't know if this is exactly what you just said. I hope not. But it seems like things that white people want to say to non-white, especially black people, get said through like these artists that speak horribly to us, like, you know, I'll kill a nigga, and you know, nigga give me my money, and use a bitch, and, you know, you're good for my sexual gratification. Other than that, hose down. So I think that's a really interesting way to look at it. Like, they're throwing their voice into these powerless artists that are just willing to sell themselves for this money. And then, you know, it's kind of like, oh, that's not us. Look, it's you black people killing black people on screen. They took that part. Or it's you black rappers coming out the hood talking about niggas ain't shit. I think that's a real interesting way to view that.
I agree.
Yo,
I'll be quiet.
I was just gonna say, I think was that you, Love, Truth Liberation?
Yes.
Yeah, you're right. I seen this guy in the gas station, and his ringtone on his phone was Lil Wayne saying, "I ain't never ran from a nigga, and I don't think I'm gonna pick the day to start running." I don't know if you ever heard that verse before from Lil Wayne, from that song he did. That was like the hook. I am never ran from a nigga, and I don't think I'm gonna pick today to start running. That was this white guy's ringtone.
That's deep. That's deep. And it reminds me, too, I favorited a video called Market for Niggas onto Love, Truth, Liberation, where his brother's dropping some spoken word, and he says, you know, people like Talib Kweli and Common are like, why aren't our albums, you know, selling like these unconscious people's albums? And he's like, the point the brother's making is, he's like, it's because white kids go and they could buy CDs 10 at a time. You feel me? While, you know, for instance, in my community, we're selling them bootleg. You know what I'm saying? So it's not going to get reflected on the chart like what black people actually want to listen to. But what does get shown is what white people are listening to black people say. And there's some real racist, horrible things against black people. I keep saying black because I'm talking about the hip-hop, which is largely, quote-unquote, black.
Not only that, they don't promote conscious music, like so-called conscious music, like they do the other stuff, like Lupe Fiasco. Like, a lot of people don't know how good his music is, and a lot of people don't really know about him, even though he had a couple videos out. But I don't remember when his albums was coming out, them promoting them like they do these other artists like 50 Cent and stuff like that, like, or Snoop. I don't really remember that. I remember that Superstar song, but that was a video, but I don't remember them promoting their albums like that. So, yeah. I agree. I wanted to make a point. You said earlier this about the in movies how black males are usually called by their first name or something like that. Hello?
Say that one more time. I'm sorry.
You said something about how black males are usually called by their first name.
Yes.
And white people are called by their last name.
Called by their first name, or just there's a disrespect of non-white people's titles, of non-white people's names in general, whether it's not calling them, you know, Mr. whatever, or not just period, messing up their name purposely. That's a consistent trend that you see, yes.
I wanted to note in the Princess and the Frog, you don't know any of the non-white characters' last name except the Mr. Facilier, I think his name is. Who's supposed to be the bad guy, he's a black male, and the white people. That's it. Like, the main characters, Tiana and Naveen, you do not know their last name. But the white girl and her daddy, you know her name is Charlotte LaBeouf, and her daddy is Eli Big Daddy LaBeouf. And, you know, the white people in there are just by their last name. I thought that was really important. Especially, it's a lot of things in that movie that it's really hard to talk about. But, yeah, that was really important how all that there wasn't really respect. Like, I think they were kind of molding the movie for children to have respect for white people in a way, like, because I don't know. It was just weird how you only knew the white people's names. Last name, the first and last name, sometimes the last name. I thought that was really important. Where the two main characters who the movie's supposed to be about, you don't know their last name. You just know that it's Tiana and Naveen. So I thought that was really interesting.
Folks that have been listening consistently, Dr. Martin Kevorkian should be returning third trip on the program. That was one of the films he recommended because he was trying to look out for justice to get some films for younger people to pick out racism, and he said The Princess and the Frog, that was one of them. So hopefully we'll make some time for that when he makes his return trip.
Hey Gus, what do you think the moral to the story was in that film?
Brooklyn's Finest?
Yes.
White people rule. White people rule. Black males are totally worthless. They're savages. Black males are savages, and their lives are worth nothing because they're not going to do anything anyway. But be a problem to other white people and other black people and play video games.
Yeah, wow. Yep, that's correct. I think I think that's the message. Yeah. And don't you think that, like you said, people that really don't study racism, white supremacy, they don't really catch that kind of stuff in movies?
I just think I think a lot of it is not connecting the dots. Like, I think when you don't understand system of white supremacy, like on a subconscious level, I think you do catch. I know I used to, I think, catch a lot of that stuff on a subconscious level. Like, I remember when I saw Training Day the first time, I hadn't read Mr. Fuller's work. I don't think I had read the ISIS papers at that. I hadn't read the ISIS papers, so I was really confused about white supremacy. But something was just wrong about that film. Like, I didn't feel like it was a film that I should like. I didn't like the way that Denzel Washington. I didn't like his character. I didn't like that he was in a film like that. I didn't like it that so many people thought it was a great film. A lot of things struck me like, I just don't like this. It didn't feel right, but I didn't have the words to articulate what it was that was incorrect about the film. I think the better you get, the more understanding you get about white supremacy, you'll be able to put words to those kind of gut feelings that we get about things sometimes, but that white supremacy will condition us to ignore or to doubt, I think. But yeah, I think it's much easier to connect the dots and pick that stuff out when you kind of understand racism much better.
Yeah, I agree. Oh man, it's deep. I didn't know you was gonna go into it like you did, but it's got me a lot to think about.
That makes two of us. I hope like it was a little like I wasn't planning on doing that, so I hope it was cogent. Like I said, Cree's supposed to write on this. She said I'm putting pressure on her now because she said she's gonna write on it. So yeah, keep checking her blog, Cree7.wordpress.com, and if she writes on it, then hopefully you'll have a nice, clear presentation of the film. And I only watched this one time. Like, I used to watch films like 2 or 3 times to really pick out everything and get a really in-depth analysis, but I don't have that much time anymore. So this was one viewing, so I'm sure I missed quite a bit. I'm sure that, if you all go check it out, I'm sure you'll pick out some other things as well. But yeah, it was chock full of stuff. There's a lot to watch. There's a lot to look for if you check it out. Brooklyn's Finest.
Yeah, this is 850 again, and Gus, no, you dealt with the subject matter quite accurately. I've read Mr. Fuller's work, and I followed your blog, and I would have to say, yeah, you were spot on as far as the codified response to the movie.
Groovy. I hope it was of some value to non-white people. I used to enjoy it. Maybe if the show ends, I'll get to go back and do that. I can watch films and do film reviews because I enjoy doing that. It's a great way to learn. I tell people all the time, it's a great tool that you can use. And that's a great way, this will be a nice way to end on. Films is that's why I love having Dr. Kevorkian on the program and Mr. Patterson. Films are an excellent way of communicating about racism with other non-white people because you can be lazy. Most non-white people I know, they watch TV. It might be hard to get them to go read Dr. Welsing's book or Martin Kevorkian's book or other people who have written about racism. It might be tough to get them to read that book. Probably won't be that tough to get them to go to Blockbuster Video and pick out 3 or 4 films. I really haven't had to twist too many people's arm to watch a movie. Pretty much any film you pick, there's going to be some racism to observe. So that's an FYI. I found that to be a very effective tool. And even if you don't get to share it with anybody, I found that films are an excellent way to hone your own skills of picking out racist symbolism, paying attention to words, paying attention to behaviors, patterns, trends. films are an excellent way of kind of honing your counter-racist techniques. It's kind of going in the construct, if you will, in the matrix, I think. I could be incorrect, but out of time. We'll be back this weekend. 3 shows, 3 straight days, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Starting Saturday, Dr. Lester Spence, Context of White Supremacy. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We'll be back soon. Replace white supremacy with justice as soon as possible. Thank you.